We will see you guys. You have a fantastic afternoon. That's it for the close. No more records today. 12,155, 50 points higher on the Dow Jones. Markets are all up across the board in anticipation of a big election night. Let's take it over to New York, where Wolf Blitzer is standing by.
Thanks, Ali. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, America votes. The balance of power on Capitol Hill is on the line. Your voice, your future, your country, the issues you care about hanging in the balance as well. We're watching all the Election Day activity right now. On our radar, a rash of voting problems, as well as the races that matter most. The best political team on television will share with us what's going on, keep all of us up to the minute on the dramatic Decision Day events. Plus, this is where you'll get the very first word on the exit polls. Our voters sending a powerful message about President Bush and the war in Iraq. The information in a virtual lockbox right now, but we're only about an hour away from bringing you some early glimpses of the big picture. I'm Wolf Blitzer at CNN Election Headquarters in New York. You're in the Situation Room. This is it, the ultimate test of our political system and America's office holders. Election Day. All 435 seats in the House, 33 in the Senate, are up for grabs. Democrats have high hopes of picking up at least the 15 seats they need to seize control of the House. A much iffier prospect, can they gain 6 Senate seats and reclaim the majority in that chamber? We'll be watching make-or-break battlegrounds in the hours ahead. Polls close at 7 p.m. Eastern in Virginia, where Republican Senator George Allen is trying to beat back a strong challenge by Democrat Jim Webb. At 7:30 p.m. Eastern, polls close in Ohio, where Republican incumbent Mike DeWine is on the ropes against Democratic challenger Sherrod Brown. At 8 p.m. Eastern, a flood of potentially decisive races. One of the closest is in Missouri. Republican Senator Jim Talent and Democrat Claire McCaskill are duking it out. In Pennsylvania, Republican incumbent Rick Santorum fighting for political survival against Democrat Bob Casey Jr. In Maryland, Ben Cardin hoping to keep an open Senate seat in Democratic hands, but Republican Michael Steele has other ideas. In Tennessee, Bob Corker trying to keep an open Senate seat in the Republican column against Democrat Harold Ford Jr. And in New Jersey, a Democrat on the defensive, incumbent Bob Menendez versus Republican Tom Kean Jr. Rhode Island also in our sights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Republican moderate Lincoln Chafee trying to hold on against Democratic challenger Sheldon Whitehouse. And at 10 p.m. Eastern, the key western battleground, Montana. Republican Senator Conrad Burns is in a brawl with Democratic challenger John Tester. Our correspondents are in all of those critical battleground states all across America. We're going to be hearing from them through this day and well into the night. This hour, Chris Lawrence standing by in Montana, Delia Gallagher in Missouri, Joe Johns in Tennessee, Ed Henry in Virginia. But first, new problems emerging at some polling places across the country. Let's check in with our Ali Velshi. He's keeping tabs on these reports that are coming in. Ali?
This is just in right now, Wolf. Denver District Court Judge Sheila Rappaport is now hearing a request by the Colorado Democratic Party to extend voting in Denver County until 9 p.m. Mountain Time. I should tell you, this hearing started at 12 p.m. Mountain Time. This has been going on for some time. Look at those lines. Our Sean Calebs is in Denver. He has been right there, and he is saying that the lines, last I heard from him, it was 3 or 4 city blocks. That's the Botanical Garden place. And the lines there are causing a lot of problems for voters. They didn't have information to start those polling booths on time this morning. Now, that's not the only county where we're looking at delays. In Indiana, Indiana, in Delaware County, around Muncie, a 2-hour and 45-minute extension to voting there because of electronic voting machines that didn't work properly at the beginning of the day. Another problem where there are delays. We're also looking at delays in Pennsylvania. At least one county, Lebanon County, has had its polls extended by 1 hour, and we are covering reports of lots of problems, voting problems in Pennsylvania. We're looking into all of those. New Jersey also has electronic voting problems and allegations of intimidation and tricks going on by both sides. And in Illinois, we have reports confirmed of at least 2 precincts in Cook County that have had extensions because they didn't get started on time. We're also tracking down reports of at least a couple more in another county. So we do have delays, voting delays in some of those cases, particularly in Colorado or in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. These may have some effect on decisions tonight. We do not have any delays reported yet in New Jersey, but we have reports of several problems. I should also tell you, Wolf, that in Virginia, there were phone calls made yesterday. There were at least 50 calls reported before polls opened this morning of people getting misleading information about where to vote, how to vote, and whether they're properly registered. The Board of Electors has looked into this. They did try and inform Virginians that there isn't a problem, but the FBI is now taking on that investigation to see whether any damage has been done, whether people who actually should have been voting didn't go out and vote or got wrong information about their ballot. So, Wolf, it's going to be a long night on a lot of levels, but there are lawyers across this country now trying to figure out whether voting needs to go on for longer than it was scheduled.
Some 10,000 lawyers have already been put in place by both political parties ready to deal with this. Allie, we're going to continue to check back with you. Our other team of reporters, we've got extensive reporting going on all these glitches, all these problems across the United States right now. We'll watch this story. Allie, thank you. Let's get to the nail-biter. Battle for control of the Senate right now, to our reporters in some of the battleground states that will help decide if Democrats seize the day. Let's go to Virginia for CNN's Ed Henry is joining us with the latest from there. Ed?
Wolf, after months of bitterness, Republican Senator George Allen and Democratic challenger Jim Webb have finally found something they can agree on. Turnout in this red-hot Senate race may reach historic proportions for a midterm election. Both sides getting reports from the field that it's turnout approaching presidential election year levels, which you just never hear of, all the way from Fairfax in the north, which would be Democratic turf, down to the southwestern portion of the state, which would be Republican turf. Also, absentee ballots in the last midterm election 2002, there were 44,000 cast. This time, 131,000 absentee ballots requested. The question is going to be, who does this benefit? The Webb campaign is confident that they will get more turnout for a combination of factors. Number one, Senator Allen's miscues, like that macaca moment. Also, anti-incumbent mood, his ties to the White House, and the issue of Iraq, which has been front and center here. The Allen camp, though, believes that the fact that a ban on same-sex marriage, a constitutional amendment banning that, is on the state ballot, that will drive more conservatives to the polls. The bottom line is we may get an early answer because the polls close here 7 o'clock Eastern time. Wolf.
Ed, thanks very much. Ed Henry in Virginia. Let's move over to Tennessee right now. The heated battle for the Senate seat now held by the Majority Leader Bill Frist, who's retiring. Covering the Fort Corker contest for us is Joe Johns. Joe's joining us now live. Joe?
Wolf, this is the Peabody Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where we're expecting the Democrat, Harold Ford, to end up tonight. He is in the Memphis area. We started out with him today at a polling place. It's interesting, here in Tennessee, there are some projections, probably about half of the people who will have voted in this election already voted in early voting. So they're describing the people turning up at the polls so far as steady. There has been rain here, which is always an issue as to turnout, but both sides are thinking they're going to see a lot of people voting in this election, 1.8, 1.9 million, and so it goes here in Tennessee. The candidate, the Democratic candidate, was out today, as I said, at the polls, speaking to people, not getting too close because there are rules against that. He's been talking a lot about his faith in this final day, this voting day. Meanwhile, Bob Corker over in Chattanooga, that's where he's expected to end up tonight. Of course, this is a very close race. A lot of people think, at least according to the last USA Today Gallup poll. Back to you, Wolf.
All right, thanks very much, Joe, for that. Let's move over to Missouri right now. The Senate battle between Jim Talent and Clara McCaskill could hinge on a red-hot social issue, embryonic stem cell research. Our faith and values correspondent Delia Gallagher is joining us now from St. Louis with more on that. Delia?
Good evening to you, Wolf. Well, embryonic stem cell research is an issue that states have been grappling with for the past 2 years, from California, which funds it, to South Dakota, that bans it. And tonight, it's Missouri's turn to decide.
It's down to the wire, but there's still time for Brian Curry to try to convince one more voter on the Missouri stem cell issue. 5 pages of dense scientific terms, obscured by even more campaign rhetoric, boils down to this: changing Missouri's constitution to prevent future restrictions on embryonic stem cell research. The opposition says it opens the door to cloning. Supporters say it's about cures.
It says bans cloning, cures for everybody, this is going to be great. But then when you read the actual amendment, it does allow cloning.
I believe in research, and I don't think it's about cloning at all. I think it's all about research and helping people and everything.
Whether you believe the amendment would lead to cloning depends in part on when you believe life begins. It's a tall order. Voters must weigh moral values and cutting-edge science.
I think they can get the stem cells from other places, from what I understand, so I'm going to vote no.
I'm leaning toward voting for stem cell because of the endorsements by the African Americans in the medical profession.
It's been the subject of millions of dollars of advertising, divided members of the same party, and even members of the same family.
I was going to say, I can't answer this because if my family's watching, they're very split on this, so I know how I'm voting, but...
And the big question, Wolf, is how much this issue will affect the very tight Senate race here in Missouri. Wolf?
All right, Delia's in Missouri for us. Let's move over now to Montana and another Republican senator in peril. It's Conrad Burns versus John Tester. Our Chris Lawrence is right in the middle of all of this. He's joining us live from Billings. Chris?
Wolf, there's no one issue that is driving voters to the polls here in Montana. One voter told me he voted for Conrad Burns because he was afraid John Tester was going to raise his taxes. Another told me he voted for Tester because he thought Burns had sold out to big oil companies. Now, the last poll taken before the election had Tester leading Burns, but Burns said that Republicans were going to turn out in big numbers and put him over the top. He did his part today by casting his own vote for himself. His opponent, John Tester, voted an absentee ballot, and he wasn't alone. Nearly 1 out of every 6 registered voters here in Montana asked for an absentee ballot. Most of them got turned in days ago. So in some ways, this race was well on its way to being decided before the polls even opened today. Wolf.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. We're going to watch all of these races. Something else that's often controversial on Election Day, exit polls. They're a very valuable tool for predicting races. This year, we in the news media have gone to new lengths to try to keep the data secret as long as possible. Let's bring in our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. He's our expert on exit polls. Bill, tell our viewers what's going on.
Wolf, in the immortal words of Sergeant Schultz from Hogan's Heroes, I know nothing. That's because all exit poll results are in quarantine until 5 p.m. Eastern. 2 years ago, we were shocked to discover that early and incomplete exit poll information was being leaked on Election Day. It spread instantly over the web and around the world. That information was unverified and misleading. Well, this year, representatives of 5 networks and the Associated Press are meeting in a secure, undisclosed location to review the exit poll results. They are sworn to secrecy. No cell phones, no pagers, no smoke signals, no contact with the outside world, and hall monitors like in 2nd grade. At 5 Eastern, we'll see the results and begin to share them with you. As always, everything in an exit poll must be taken with proper caution. It's a poll. A sample of voters interviewed at polling places, plus early and absentee voters interviewed by telephone. It's a piece of information. You'll hear me say a lot this evening about that. It is not a final result. It's also CNN's policy not to reveal anything about whom we may project as the winner of a specific race until all the polls are closed in that state. So stay tuned to CNN at 5 p.m. when the quarantine lifts. Then I will know something, and I'll share it with you. Wolf?
All right, thanks very much, Bill Schneider, for that. Jack Cafferty is here with the Cafferty File. Jack?
Thank you, Wolf. However today's election turns out, it's a safe bet it's going to be a good long while before anybody successfully peddles a neoconservative agenda to the American electorate again. George Bush was elected twice by the thinnest of margins, if in fact he was elected at all. And from the start, what we saw wasn't what we got. President Bush, I don't think our troops ought to be used for what's called nation building. That's exactly what we're doing in Iraq, and it's not working. Administration officials told us the war in Iraq's not about the oil. 3.5 years and 3,000 American combat deaths later, we're told it's about the oil. The president pledged to restore honor and integrity to the Oval Office. And then along came Abu Ghraib, secret prisons, outsourcing interrogations, NSA spying, torture, and a decline in the reputation of this country worldwide that is unprecedented in our history. These midterm elections could be a tsunami of rejection for the Bush White House and its policies, but even if it's not, it's likely the neoconservative vision is toast, at least for a good long while. Here's the question. How much damage has the Bush administration's agenda done to the Republican Party in this country? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
And Jack, throughout the night, you're going to be reading our viewers' email and getting some input from them and sharing that with our viewers.
That's correct.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Jack. To that, Jack Cafferty, Bill Schneider, Chris Lawrence, Delia Gallagher, Joe Johns, Ed Henry, Ali Velshi, they are all part of the best political team on television. Plus, for the latest campaign news at any time, check out our political ticker, CNN.com/ticker. And remember, Anderson Cooper, Paul Lazan, Lou Dobbs, they'll join me tonight for our primetime coverage of America Votes 2006. It all starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. Coming up, the non-candidate who may be influencing voters a lot right now. We'll have a live report on President Bush waiting out the results and what his Democratic rivals are saying about their prospects. Plus, if the Republicans' fortunes fall, the party chairman, Ken Millman, may have a lot of explaining to do. The RNC chief joins us with his predictions. And we'll take you live to an internet cafe in Washington, D.C. for our big blogger party. It's a first in our supersized coverage of the vote. We're live from CNN election headquarters in New York, and you're in the Situation Room.
Sports sedans have come to be regarded as purely machine. But when design functions as a display of human skill and craftsmanship, rather than simply mechanical precision, the machine can evoke emotion. It can shape how you experience the road. It can go beyond machine. The all-new G is here, and it's from Infiniti.
You better not be making a mess in there.
Introducing a faucet finish that repels stains and easily wipes clean. The new EverClean finish, only from American Standard.
When something really fits, you can feel it. Like the gasket effect you get with C-Bond. It locks dentures in for all-over coverage, all-over hold. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
C-Bond, the wafer with a gasket fit.
I saw several girls raped.
Raped right in front of my eyes.
Then they burned them to death.
They killed my sons.
Then my husband. And my brother.
The government just wants us to disappear.
The rest of the world isn't doing anything.
Isn't doing anything.
Anything.
"5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Be right back here at CNN for American Morning. Election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
Monday Night
football, coming this season on ESPN. ESPN, serving sports fans around the world.
ESPN is brought to you locally by Mattress World, where it's not too late to sleep like a baby.
Attention, America. We're the slow party.
And we want
Be still with Bill.
Bill.
Be still with Bill.
This isn't only about you.
Well, nothing rhymes with Carolyn.
If you have an unrhymable name.
It's your downfall.
What about we're for slow?
What about not? What about...
Be still with Bill. Be still with Bill.
Join the Slow Party and help them find a slogan at theslowskis.org.
I am
Bill.
The best political team on television tells it like it really is. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
President Bush is at the White House after casting his ballot in Texas earlier this morning. Now he's waiting for the election results to come in, along with the voters' verdict on him and his party. The suspense also building on Capitol Hill as Democrats try to avoid any irrational exuberance. For some, that's easier said than done. Our White House correspondent Suzanne Malveaux is standing by, but let's go to Capitol Hill. Our congressional correspondent Dana Bash is joining us with the latest from there. Dana?
Well, if easier said than done is very true. Nancy Pelosi came into the Capitol this afternoon. Our producer, Ted Barrett, bumped into her and jokingly said, "How are you, Madam Speaker?" She smiled ear to ear and said, "I like the title," but quickly caught herself and said, "Not yet." Now, in public, Pelosi may be cautious, but we understand that in private, she and her staff are already talking about whether or not they should move their office suite into the bigger space now occupied by the Republican House Speaker, Dennis Hastert. And there was not a lot of caution in a briefing just a short while ago from the two chairmen of the Democratic House and Senate campaign committees. They were actually bubbling with optimism, Wolf. In fact, Rahm Emanuel, the Democrat in charge of the House, essentially said that he thinks that this is going to be an historic midterm election. They talked on and on about how voter turnout is up, especially in key Democratic areas. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, we understand that the Republican National Committee Chairman Ken Mehlman just did a private conference call with friends and allies of the Republican Party, also trying to make the point that turnout is up that will benefit Republicans. But I can tell you that talking to Republicans in private here on Capitol Hill and elsewhere, it's not a question of how many seats they think they're going to lose, excuse me, or if they think they're going to lose seats. It's a question of how many. And as a matter of fact, the mood, I can tell you, is kind of a mixture of depression and resignation. I talked to one GOP House leadership aide earlier today who said, "I feel like I did in 9th grade when I was just about to go take a chemistry test I didn't study for." He said, "I know I'm going to fail, and there's nothing I can do about it." Wolf.
All right, Dana, thanks very much. From one end of Pennsylvania Avenue to the other, let's go to the White House. Our correspondent Suzanne Malveaux with more from there. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, earlier today we saw the president and the first lady casting their ballot in Crawford, Texas, and the president making brief remarks, decidedly nonpartisan, saying, look, all Americans should go out and vote. It's their civic duty. But it's very clear that Bush administration officials know that the Iraq War is the #1 issue, that this election is going to be a referendum on the Iraq War and the president, and that if the Republicans lose the House or the Senate, it is going to dramatically weaken the president's ability to push forward with his agenda for the next couple of years. But White House insiders I talked to today say there is no talk of that here at the White House. They believe that they are not going to get into the what-if game. If there is any hint of doubt, they believe that ultimately voters will not go to the polls, and so they believe they cannot actually concede at this point. Another White House insider I spoke to as well said this is going to be a very bad day for Republicans, but he said that Karl Rove and company do believe in some encouraging news. They believe that there are more voters that are coming out in rural Republican areas in Virginia, Missouri, and Montana, and that is, in fact, a good sign. Now, Wolf, we don't expect to hear or see from the president today. That'll happen tomorrow. But the president is going to be sitting down with his top political advisors, having a dinner this evening while he watches those returns come in. Wolf?
Suzanne, thanks very much. Let's bring in our senior political correspondent, Candy Crowley, and our chief national correspondent, John King. They're watching all of this very, very closely. Candy, let's give our viewers a sense of a little bit of a viewer's guide, what we can expect starting at 7 p.m. Eastern when our nonstop coverage really gets going.
Very important Senate race closes for voting Virginia. We have, 3 months ago, this race was not in question. Now, Senator Allen running against Jim Webb. is in deep trouble. If he loses here, first of all, his presidential chances are gone. If he wins here, it will be a squeaker. You also have Ohio, which has been ground zero for everything wrong. It's the economy is a problem. There has been ethical and legal problems at the top of Republican government in the state house. There's the war. Ohio is in the top 10 of states that has suffered the most war casualties. Everything is going on in Ohio. We may, in fact, see a sweep out of some of those Republican House seats.
Some of those states close at 7, others close at 7:30, but there's a lot of them, John, that close at 8 p.m. And we should be able to get a really during the 7 o'clock hour, assuming we get some results coming in, we can make some exit poll projections. We'll get a sense of what's going on, but really at 8 p.m. we'll get a much better sense.
Well, I think we'll have a very good sense by 8 p.m. At 7 o'clock, we'll get a good sense in the House. There are 6 Republican incumbents between 2 states, Indiana and Kentucky. Democrats think they have a chance to get 4 of those seats, maybe even better if there is a wave. I think we will know from those 2 7 o'clock hours, is there an anti-Republican wave, or are we going to go race by race, fight by fight? We'll know that from the Indiana and Kentucky results. Then at 8 o'clock...
In other words, if the Republican incumbents lose in Indiana and Kentucky, that's a sure sign the Democrats are going to have a good night.
If Republicans are losing in red states like that, well, then you can be sure Democrats are going to pick up in Pennsylvania and all the other places they're trying to get seats as well. So those are what you want to watch at 7 o'clock on the House side. The 8 o'clock will give us a pretty good glimpse at the Senate. You have a number of big states up at 8 o'clock in the Senate. You'll see the Missouri Senate race, one of the big Senate races. You'll see the Pennsylvania Senate race, which the Democrats think they will get. And you'll see a host of Senate races, the Tennessee Senate race, another of the big battlegrounds. So the 7 o'clock gives you your first primer on what are we looking for in the House. 8 o'clock will give us a pretty good guide into the Senate.
And that doesn't necessarily mean, Candy, that by 8 o'clock we know what's happening. This could be a long night when all is said and done.
Absolutely, especially if it's close. I mean, just because the polls close doesn't mean we're going to know much at that time. And if there are voting irregularities, or if somebody's slow counting, or if it's not all going into the central place, it's going to be a very long time. And some of these, particularly the Indiana races, later when we see in Connecticut, these are very close races, so we're not going to know at 8 o'clock. And I mean, this is sort of a vote-by-vote thing unless we have that giant wave, and then it's an early night.
And Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Missouri, Kentucky, all places with rural areas, they tend to report a little bit later. Reliably Republican votes the last few years where the Democrats have made a big pitch. The rural voter, especially the rural white voter, could be a big story this election year. Those votes would be counted a bit later traditionally, so if those races are tight, we might be here a little late.
And a lot of those races we're going to have to count the old-fashioned way, one ballot at a time. Guys, thanks very much. Candy Crowley, John King, Dana Bash, Suzanne Malveaux, they are all part of the best political team on television. Up next, are Republicans in Congress about to become a rare breed? Voters are having their say right now. We'll bring in the Republican Party chairman, Ken Mehlman. He's standing by to join us. And all eyes are on the polls and on the sky. Will the weather be a factor in any of the more critical battlegrounds? The forecast on our political radar. We're live at CNN election headquarters in New York as America votes.
Situation Room is sponsored by MVParents.com. Visit MVParents.com. Brought to you by founding sponsor, Coors Brewing Company.
At Coors, we have a responsibility to help prevent underage drinking. As a parent, I understand that responsibility. 75% of teens say parents are their #1 influence as they decide to drink or not. That's why Coors brings you MVParents.com, a website built by Search Institute, experts on youth development. Here you'll find tools to empower your teens to make the right decisions. So visit MVParents.com and know that we at Coors are as committed as you are to preventing underage drinking.
Escape to a world of vibrant color, captivating design, and luxurious style with Stainmaster Carpet. During the Stainmaster Carpet 20th anniversary celebration, experience a whole new era in style and beauty for your home. Stainmaster Carpet, always stylish, always beautiful. For a retailer near you, visit Stainmaster.com.
invest in these companies and the rest of the NASDAQ 100 index through QQQ. And investors should consider investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses carefully before investing. For this and other information about QQQ, a unit investment trust, obtain a prospectus from your broker or visit NASDAQ.com/QQQ. Read carefully before investing.
The world's first 8-speed automatic transmission. The new LS. Unprecedented.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. I'm Wolf Blitzer at the CNN election headquarters here in New York. Let's check in with Zane Verjee for a closer look at some other important stories making news. Zane?
Wolf, a suicide bomber blew himself up in a crowded coffee shop in a Shia neighborhood in Baghdad today. Iraqi police say 17 people were killed. Just hours earlier, mortars struck a Sunni neighborhood in Baghdad, killing 5 people. A British judge has sentenced a confessed al-Qaeda operative to life in prison for plotting to blow up the New York Stock Exchange and London targets. Dhiren Borat must spend 40 years behind bars before he's eligible for parole. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to murder. A scene of destruction in northern Japan. The country's deadliest tornado on record tore through a remote island town, killing at least 9 people. Authorities say 24 others were injured. Many of the victims were construction workers just building a tunnel. Wolf?
Zane, thank you for that. Zane Verjee in Washington. On this election day, the Republican Party's grip on power is in jeopardy. The rest of the Bush presidency most likely will be affected, along with the 2008 battle for the White House. Joining us now, a man with a huge stake in all of this, the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Ken Mehlman. Ken, thanks very much for coming.
Nice to be with you.
I see a big smile on your face. Maybe you know something that we don't know. I don't think you do, but you're going to be at the White House watching the results come in with the president and the first lady later tonight. Is that right?
I'll be there for a while. I'll also be on a lot of your television sets tonight. So I'll be all over the place. I'll be like you. I'll be omnipresent.
What do you say to the president, though, if the Republicans take the majority in the House and Nancy Pelosi becomes Speaker?
Well, Wolf, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that we obviously are in a challenging year. Anytime you're in the 6th year of the president's term, as well as a nation at war, you look historically, the party in power, the president's party, loses seats. At the same time, you look at some recent data that's come in terms of recent national polling, they all indicate a surge in momentum on behalf of Republicans. Something else, Wolf, that I think is really important to consider, and that is that you'll see in a bunch of the states tonight, Tennessee, in Florida, in California, in Maryland, in Ohio, in Arizona, in every one of these states, we already have some data about early and absentee voting. This is not stuff that will be reflected in the exit polls, and Republicans did very well, exceeding in every one of those states, often by double-digit numbers, our registration number. So I think it potentially could be a long evening, and we'll have to see what happens.
Well, I know you've got some serious concerns about the exit polling, the whole process.
I do. I think you don't have to take the concerns from me. Ask President Kerry, ask President Gore, ask Colorado Senator Strickland. The exit polls predicted the 00 election wrong, the 02 election wrong, and the 04 election wrong. And after 04, the gentleman who oversaw the effort said that these exit polls are often inherently biased. And so I think we need to keep it in perspective, given that it's been wrong in the last 3 elections. In particular, in some of these races, like, for instance, the Virginia race or the Missouri race, Republicans, as you recently noted, typically and conservatives have historically done much better in the out part of the state, in the more rural parts of the state. And often the exit pollsters, whose job it is to get lots of people willing to do interviews, will concentrate on the more metropolitan parts of the state.
I will say, Ken, that in defense of the exit polling system, which the 5 major television networks and the Associated Press are working with, we've been told that a lot of those earlier glitches have been resolved, and it's a much better.
I hope that they have.
It's a much better process this time. Let me talk a little bit with you about some of the reported glitches coming up in voting. Democrats are already charging that Republicans are engaging in some dirty tricks out there, and they're complaining about some of the activity, especially some of those so-called robo calls that have gone out from the National Republican Congressional Committee. I want to give you a chance to respond to that charge that your side is engaging in dirty politics.
I'm not familiar with that, Wolf. I think that my goal is to get more Republicans and more Democrats and more independents. Everyone watching this show, if you haven't voted, I don't care what your politics is, I want you to go out and vote. We know this, Wolf, in 2004. We know two things. First, Democrats produced a playbook that they gave to every one of their state parties. They said if there's not intimidation, allege that there is. Secondly, in 2004, there were two states. In both cases, it was Democrats that were involved. In Ohio, in misleading voters about where they should vote and when they should vote, and in Florida, about threatening and harassing people that wanted to hand out flyers at the polls. In Wisconsin, we know that, in fact, there was a criminal activity, slashing tires of people that wanted to volunteer at the polls. I hope Democrats won't do it again, but the fact is you've already seen some questionable activities. In Heather Wilson's district, New Mexico 1, Bernalillo County, Republican precincts where thousands of people tried to vote. They were turned away because there weren't enough ballots. And as of earlier today, the Democratic county clerk hadn't rectified that problem. I hope that's fixed. Rick Santorum held a press conference earlier today where he pointed out that in a lot of the rural parts of that state, his supporters were having problems working with the voting machines. In Montana, we saw the same thing that Democrats did in 2004, where people were being misled about when and how to participate. So I hope we don't have that problems. Both parties' goals ought to be more people participating, more people having confidence in the system, and more people being able to participate in a way that they know their vote won't be canceled out by someone playing shenanigans. I don't think people ought to cry wolf for the sake of gaining politically, particularly if they've been the ones, as they were in 2004, that were engaged in inappropriate activity.
I think all of us hope that these elections today go very, very smoothly, as smoothly as possible. But we've been reporting there have been some problems, some glitches, some long lines already reported. I can assure our viewers we're going to watch this very, very closely every step of the way here at CNN. Ken Mehlman, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
We'll be speaking throughout the night. Up next, all eyes right now in the Buckeye State this election day. We're going to go live to Ohio and get ready to party, blog style. We're going to take you live to the Tryst Internet Cafe in the nation's capital for the first ever election night blogger get-together. You're going to want to see this. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
SAP software can grow as the company grows? That's great because we are definitely going global. Just as soon as we go national.
If you purchased or refinanced your home a couple of years ago and you got one of those adjustable teaser rates to qualify, just call or log on to ditech.com and refinance to a low fixed rate. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
Senator Kennedy, welcome to the Ambassador Hotel. Thank you very much.
In a time of war, he offered peace.
What if Kennedy loses? I don't want Vietnam. Do you?
In a time of change, he offered justice.
And after Dr. King was killed, I had anger like you can't even imagine.
And for the future of a nation, he offered hope.
But we can perhaps remember that those who live with us are our brothers.
Bobby, rated R. In theaters everywhere, Thanksgiving Day.
I try to do whatever I can to take care of my health. It's a very big part of who I am. So when I found out I had osteoporosis, I knew I had to meet it head on. Then my doctor told me about Boniva, how it helps build strong, healthy bones to prevent fractures with just one pill a month. And I thought, hey, I can do this. Unlike other treatments you have to take once a week, I only need Boniva once a month.
You should not take Boniva if you have low blood calcium, severe kidney disease, or cannot sit or stand for at least 60 minutes. Follow dosing instructions carefully. Stop taking Boniva and tell your doctor if you experience difficult or painful swallowing, chest pain, or severe or continuing heartburn, as these may be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
If you're as determined as I am to have strong, healthy bones, don't wait. Ask your doctor if Boniva is right for you. I'm so glad I did.
Once monthly Boniva. There's only one. Ask your doctor for a free trial offer or call 1-800-4-BONIVA.
The CNN Hummer has seen a war, an overhaul, and now it tours Army bases before it's auctioned off January 20th to benefit Fisher House. Check out CNN.com Warrior One. This Hummer saw war. Now it will help those who fought it.
I'm Montel Williams.
The Partnership for Prescription Assistance is traveling to all 50 states, making stops to help people pay for their medicine.
I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to afford my medications, and PPA gave me back my life.
This past year, America's pharmaceutical companies gave away more than $5 billion worth of medicines to people in need.
It has been a lifesaver for me in more ways than one.
If you need help, just call 1-888-4PPA now. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
Political Radar, brought to you by the Partnership for Prescription Assistance.
In our political radar today, something every voter is dealing with. That would be the weather. It's been pretty messy out there in some places like western Washington state. Storms stranded drivers and closed at least one polling station there earlier today. Let's go to our meteorologist, Rob Marciano. He's standing by at the CNN Weather Center. What's the latest, Rob?
Well, Wolf, the rain is still happening across the Pacific Northwest, but it will begin to taper off later on tonight. But by then, the polls will likely be closed. Still flooding rains there. Across the southeast, we're having some issues. Good news today, not a whole lot of severe weather, but the heavy rain is certainly going to be a factor in places like Georgia, eastern Mississippi, the Carolinas as well. And it's increasing as it heads up the Atlantic seaboard. If you look at the forecast totals expected over the next 24 hours, we do highlight a couple areas of yellow and red. That means the rains will be increasing across parts of western South and North Carolina, western West Virginia. We could see an inch or two just to the west of Richmond. So it looks to be pretty soggy across the mid-Atlantic seaboard. Wolf, back to you.
All right, Rob, thanks very much. We'll continue to watch the weather. And remember, for the latest campaign news at any time, including the weather, check out our political ticker, cnn.com/ticker. Now let's head back to the Election Day battlegrounds. Our correspondents are in place across the country watching the Senate races, generating some of the most and greatest anxiety and some of the greatest heat. Brian Todd is standing by in Maryland. Bob Franken is in Ohio. Bob Franken, let's start with you.
Well, here in Ohio, we're at the headquarters in Columbus, the state capital, where the Republicans are going to be holding their victory or non-victory party this evening. Senator Mike DeWine, who is an underdog in the polls, made his vote today near his home, near Dayton, Ohio. Then he is coming here. He is scheduled to arrive any minute here at the headquarters where he'll watch the results. Sherrod Brown, the Democratic candidate, congressman, who has been ahead in the polls, also voted near his home in Avon, Ohio. He is heading to the Cleveland area where he is going to have his party or lack of a party depending on how the results go. Of course, he is considered to be ahead in the polls. The Republicans say that the heavy turnout that has been experienced in Ohio might be working to their favor. They're saying that in the Republican areas there has been that heavier turnout. Of course, Democrats at this point say the same thing. There are so many issues involved, including the corruption issue. We're going to see if the Ohio Republican Party can pull off one of its miracles as it has in the past. Wolf?
All right, Bob, thanks very much. From Columbus, Ohio to Bowie, Maryland, just outside the nation's capital. Brian Todd standing by with more from there. Brian?
Wolf, can you believe we're in a battleground state? A lot of people think it is right now, and there's a lot of energy in this room. Look at this. We've got fairly long lines here in Bowie, Maryland at Bowie High School. This is about the biggest crowd we've had all day. We are told that Maryland has now had a very high voter turnout, over 60%. And part of that is the energized campaign of one Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele, the Republican, who has really come from behind in this race. He has run an energetic, engaging, but a very aggressive campaign against Democratic Congressman Ben Cardin. That race has tightened considerably. And a lot of pundits feel that this is almost a dead heat at this point. The polls close in a little over 3 hours. This is going to be one of the most tightly contested races in the country, we're told. And again, it's a state the Democrats didn't count on losing. They were worried about New Jersey. Now a lot of analysts believe they ought to worry about it right here. Michael Steele making a very impressive late showing in this election, Wolf, and we'll know in a few hours whether he pulled it out.
Brian, thanks very much. We're going to be watching this race especially close. Coming up, will the Mark Foley scandal make a mark on the battle for the House of Representatives? We'll go live to two districts where the controversy could make the difference. We're live from the CNN election headquarters in New York, the last stop this campaign season for the CNN Election Express. There it is.
America Votes 2006 is sponsored by AARP. Don't vote until you know where the candidates stand on the issues. Visit don'tvote.com. Log on to cnn.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
For 2007, designed for the extraordinary.
Experience is an excellent teacher. And what over 45 years of experience has taught Oppenheimer Funds is the strength of a balanced approach and the effectiveness of a diversely skilled team. Valuable lessons that guide us through an ever-changing financial landscape. Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Carefully consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Call your advisor for a prospectus with this and other fund information. Read it carefully before investing.
Sure, I hunt. Small game. Allergens, deskmates. They're everywhere. You have to get inside their tiny brains. Think like they think. And my gear? I pack a Bissell Healthy Home vacuum. This baby's loaded. Airtight HEPA system traps allergens. Keeps them from going back in the air. Nice. Microban protection fused inside. Odor-causing bacteria?
For the new way to a healthier clean, visit Bissell.com.
They won't see it coming.
No matter what kind of business you run, you'll run it better with the new Discover Business Card, the right tool for your business. 5% cashback bonus on office supplies, 2% cashback bonus on gas, fee-free purchase checks that earn rewards. The new Discover Business Card. It works. Get 0% intro APR on every purchase for 9 months. Call 1-888-4094-BIZ to apply right now.
It's been a cloud over Republicans in Congress for weeks now, but will the Mark Foley congressional page scandal actually sway voters at the polls today? The chances of that may be greatest in two specific House races. Susan Rosgen is standing by to cover the race that Mark Foley used to hold in Florida. But first, let's go to CNN's Mary Snow. She's in Buffalo, New York, where the influential House Republican Tom Reynolds is really in a fight for his political life. Mary?
Well, Wolf, voters here telling us today that the Mark Foley scandal is a deciding factor in their vote. Congressman Reynolds, the chairman of the National Republican Congressional Committee, came under fire. Voters are angry, they say, because they feel he should have done more when he first learned about questionable emails between Foley and a congressional page. Some here said that they switched their vote to the Democrat, Jack Davis. Some Republicans say they stuck with Reynolds, but say they had a hard time doing so and that the whole incident did bother them. Now, Congressman Reynolds was seen as a shoo-in. His race was put in a very tight, dead heat by Jack Davis, who poured over $2 million of his own money into this race. Wolf?
All right, from Buffalo, let's head down south to Florida. Susan Rosgen, you're there where Congressman Mark Foley used to serve as the congressman. His name remains on the ballot, even though he's still in rehab, we're told.
Yeah, can you believe it, Wolf? I'm at the election party headquarters tonight for a candidate whose name is not even on the ballot. 5 weeks ago, when the Republican Party chose Joe Negron, a Florida state legislator, to replace Congressman Foley after he had resigned, they had to find a way to explain why Negron's name would not be on the ballot. It was too late to get Foley's name off the ballot. So they had to come up with some kind of slogan, something, and this is what they came up with, Wolf. It says, "Punch Foley for Negron." It's a way to acknowledge voters' disgust with the whole Foley scandal, while at the same time still urging them to vote Republican, vote for Negron. Now the catch is, Wolf, that here in Florida people don't punch paper ballots anymore after the 2000 hanging Chad debacle in the presidential race. It's all an electronic system, so we won't know until the polls close at 7 whether or not people did indeed punch Foley for Negron.
We'll be watching very closely, Susan. Thank you. South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford forgot something when he went to vote today, his voter registration card. The incumbent Republican who's up for re-election searched through his wallet at the polling station. No luck, though. His wife had to remind him to bring it. She had reminded him to bring it. Poll manager told the governor he couldn't vote without the card. Sanford did get a duplicate, showed up later in the day to cast his ballot. Things happen. Up next, the Bush administration has our Jack Cafferty wondering how much damage has its agenda done to the GOP. What you're telling Jack, that's coming up next. And just minutes away, the very first exit polls from today's voting will be released, and we're going to share them with you. What surprised voters to go to the polls earlier today? What's going on right now? The first of the exit polls. That's coming up 5 p.m. Eastern. We'll be right back.
What do you get when a financial firm with 70,000 people in 50 countries takes the time to understand your needs as if it's just the two of you? Could it be the most powerful two-person financial firm in the world? You and us, UBS.
What really happens when our war veterans come home? Healing the scars. An unforgettable Anderson Cooper 360. CNN Monday night, 10 Eastern.
Roger.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors. If you've been thinking about moving your account, this is the perfect time to come to Scottrade. With powerful trading tools and fast, accurate $7 trades, Scottrade gives you more for your money.
How do you like my new car? I did tons of research before I finally bought it. The whole process probably took me about
4 months, maybe 9 months.
Visited about 10 websites.
Read a bunch of articles.
It took a long time.
That's great. But how long did it take you to choose your car insurance?
10 or 15 minutes?
12 minutes. About 20 minutes.
Are you sure you got the right coverage?
I think so. I hope so.
Maybe not.
Did they tell you the difference between single limit and split limit coverage?
Single what? Well, I know I have,
They didn't go over that. It was pretty rushed, as I remember.
At Amica, we think choosing the right car insurance is too important to rush through. So when you call, we take the time to understand you and then help you understand your options.
That would be fabulous.
I love options.
I like to know exactly what I'm getting involved with.
Call Amica now and start saving money today. And because we help you choose the right coverage, you could save a lot more down the road.
My car deserves Amica.
I'm going to call Amica.
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 Amica. It's not just how you're covered, it's how you're treated.
Considering a career change, have you dreamed of a career as a helicopter pilot? Silver State Helicopters is offering a free employment opportunity seminar Thursday, November 9th at 7 p.m. We'll show you how you can earn your commercial helicopter pilot's license in less than 18 months and start earning $50,000 to $100,000 annually. This professional training program allows you to become a commercial helicopter pilot with no upfront cost to you. The seminar is Thursday, November 9th at 7 p.m. Come see us at the Salem Municipal Airport. To reserve your seat, call 1-888-91-PILOT today.
Election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
Jack Cafferty is here with the Cafferty File. Jack.
Question this hour is, how much damage has the Bush administration's agenda done to the Republican Party? I suppose we'll get a better sense of that later on this evening, but some of you have some ideas on it already. Gary in Steger, Illinois writes, to hell with what he's done to the Republican Party. What about all the lies and horrors and damage he's wrought on America and we the people? Even today, Election Day, he's doing damage, telling Americans it's a privilege to vote. It is our right to vote, and no matter how much he wants only the privilege to be able to vote, it speaks volumes of his disdain for the American people. Stop running the clip, please. Darren in Minneapolis, not as much as people think. The Republicans have done plenty on their own to screw up their credibility. From lobbyist scandals to the Page scandal, Republicans have created an environment of corruption over the past few years that rivals anything I've seen in my lifetime. Other than the war in Iraq, President Bush and his policies have been pretty benign compared to the conduct of Republicans in the Congress. Paul in Jacksonville, Florida, how much damage has Bush administration's policies done to the GOP? It's irrelevant.
Take this word of advice from a conservative Reagan Republican. Keep your powder dry. We're not going anywhere. Dennis, my father dragged me around campaigning for Barry Goldwater in 1964. He told me the other night the Republican Party has committed suicide and he's voting for an independent for governor. What else do you need to know? And Lisa in Melbourne, Florida. The Bush administration has caused at least Category 3 damage in hurricane lingo to the Republican Party. Some will be left without power. Others are holding on, but the roof is leaking, the water is rising, and everything generally is a mess. Wolf.
Leave it to somebody in Florida to come up with an analogy like that. Jack, see you in a few minutes. Thank you. Still to come, our internet reporters are standing by at a first-of-its-kind election night blogger party. We're going to take you there, find out what online pundits are saying and writing. We'll be right back.
Closed captioning hours provided by Nature's Tears Eye Mist Dry Relief.
Nature's Tears Eye Mist, the natural way to soothe and moisturize tired, strained, dry eyes. Nature's Tears Eye Mist. Now, doesn't that feel better?
Right turn, 8 feet.
Buick introduces the world's simplest and smartest way to get around.
Left turn, 3 feet.
OnStar voice-guided turn-by-turn navigation.
Left turn, 10 feet.
Now standard on the 2007 Lucerne and all Buicks. Just tell us where you want to go, and we'll take you there, turn by turn. For a demonstration, go to Buick.com.
Senator Kennedy, welcome to the Ambassador Hotel.
More and more young men keep coming back in body bags.
What if Kennedy loses? We can all forget it, man. I'm 19, Jimmy. I don't want to go to Vietnam.
Let's keep the brown man down. Let's send the brown man back across the border.
We didn't cross the border crossed us.
You're on stage in Night Shark. Then you're introducing Senator Kennedy in the embassy ballroom.
Now that Dr. King is gone, Mama left for Bobby.
Bobby, rated R. In theaters everywhere Thanksgiving Day.
I saw several girls raped.
Raped right in front of my eyes. Then they burned them to death.
They killed my sons.
Then my husband. And my brother.
The government just wants us to disappear.
The rest of the world isn't doing anything.
Isn't doing anything.
Anything.
If you're a man over 50, it's time to take the Avodart quiz. Are you always going? Do you have trouble going? Are you going at night? Maybe you think you have a going problem. But what if it's a growing problem? What if it's not your bladder, but instead you have an enlarging prostate? 50% of men over 50 do, and you may be able to do something about that going and growing with Avodart. Most medicines only treat symptoms. Avodart, with time, actually shrinks the prostate and improves urinary symptoms. Only your doctor can tell if your symptoms are from an enlarged prostate and not a more serious condition, such as prostate cancer. So have regular prostate exams. Avodart is for men only. Women should not take or handle Avodart due to the risk of a specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely, sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of the breast can occur. Have you called your doctor? Avodart, for your growing problem.
This election night, the best political team on television tells it like it really is. Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Lou Dobbs, Paula Zahn, and Larry King. Election night, CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern. Sponsored by Norfolk Southern.
Let's head back to the campaign trail. Our Dan Lothian is in Connecticut covering one of the more intriguing battles this year. Dan?
That's right, Wolf. And a little more than 3 hours until the polls close here. The Lieberman campaign saying that they're feeling cautiously optimistic. They say they're hearing some good things from their poll workers. One official telling CNN, "We are feeling positive. We're certainly glad we are where we are instead of where Lamont is." For his part, Lamont has said that he is confident he can pull off what he did in the primary. An official with his campaign saying that just because where they are on the ballot towards the top and Lieberman being toward the bottom because he is an independent, that we're hopeful that they could even get a little bit of advantage there. Wolf?
Dan Lothian going to have an interesting night tonight. Thanks, Dan, very much for that. Our internet reporters Jackie Scheckner and Abby Tatton are over at the Trist Internet Cafe in Washington, D.C. for this, the first ever election night blogger party. Guys, what's going on?
Wolf, we've got food, we've got drink,
and we've got bloggers. Let me give you an idea of what's going on here at Tryst. It's a coffee house in Washington, D.C. We've brought in 29 or so bloggers from around the country, California, Minnesota, right here in Washington, D.C. Left and right, they're all together in the same room. So far, no fur is flying. But we wanted to get an idea of what they thought was important, and we wanted to get an idea of what they were writing and how they were going to spend their time. So we brought them out of their homes and living rooms into our sort of virtual living room, and you can also join them virtually online. So Abby's going to show you how to do that. She's joining me now with that, Abby.
Jackie, yeah, that's at cnn.com/blog party, a list of all the bloggers who are joining us here tonight and links to their sites. We're, of course, checking in with this as we go throughout the evening, but cnn.com is also the place you're going to be wanting to look at tonight as real-time results and CNN projections of these races come in. And I just wanted to show you this tool just launched. This is cnn.com/yourraces. You can customize the site to follow the key races important to you around the country. Set it up. This is the page that's going to be populated with real-time results and CNN projections. As we go throughout the evening, we're going to be checking in on this, and of course with all these bloggers who are just starting to trickle in and starting work here tonight at Tryst Internet Cafe in DC. Wolf?
All right, guys, sounds like a lot of fun. We'll be checking back with you early and often, as they say. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room, where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by, CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories. Happening now, a crucial election, and in just a matter of moments, we're going to bring you the very first exit polls. Will voters send a signal about President Bush and the war in Iraq? Already, voting problems are reported nationwide, from long lines and electronic glitches to threat scuffles and more serious allegations. As the FBI moves in, we're watching the poll watchers. At stake right now, control of the United States Congress. A handful of races will determine who runs the Senate, and a change of just 15 seats could bring a new Speaker of the House. I'm Wolf Blitzer at CNN Election Headquarters in New York. You're in the Situation Room. Today, voting problems across the country. Among them, a Kentucky poll worker arrested for allegedly choking a voter. In Oklahoma, a squirrel chewed through an electrical line, shorting out a polling place. In two New Mexico precincts, they simply ran out of ballots. And there's this. Ohio Representative Jean Schmidt had her paper ballot rejected by a scanning machine, while a fellow lawmaker had to go home to fetch additional identification. South Carolina's Governor Mark Sanford was turned away because he forgot his voter registration card. And perhaps more ominously, the FBI is conducting a preliminary investigation into allegations that voters in at least 8 Virginia counties received deceptive or intimidating phone calls. Virginia could determine control of the United States Senate. Republican incumbent George Allen and Democratic challenger Jim Webb have gone down to the wire. Polls, by the way, in Virginia close in 2 hours. In Tennessee, the cliffhanger is between Republican Bob Corker and Democrat Harold Ford Jr. fighting for an open Senate seat. In Missouri, Republican Senator Jim Talon faces a tough challenge from Democrat Clara McCaskill. CNN's Ed Henry, Joe Johns, Jonathan Free, Dana Bash, they're all standing by on this as we're watching the balance of power. But let's begin with Ed Henry in Virginia. Ed, what's driving voter turnout there?
Voter turnout very high, Wolf. I'm in Richmond at the campaign headquarters of Republican Senator George Allen. The mood cautiously optimistic, probably best described that way. They realize Senator Allen's back is against the wall just a few months after he was talking about a presidential bid. Now he is in deep trouble. That turnout the Allen campaign is hoping, it's being driven by the fact that there is a ballot initiative banning same-sex marriage on the ballot in Virginia. They think a lot of conservatives are turning out. The Webb campaign, Democrat Jim Webb, they're hoping that instead the turnout all across this Commonwealth is being driven by a mix of issues. Iraq, but also the miscues of Senator Allen. That infamous macaco moment. We'll know in just a few hours who is right. Wolf.
Ed, thank you very much. We'll be watching closely. Seen as Joe Johns is in Tennessee, where there's a bitter fight for the Senate seat being vacated by the Majority Leader Bill Frist. Joe, what are they saying in Tennessee, the voters you're speaking with?
Well, the official word here, at least I should say from the people who are running the elections and watching the elections, is that turnout, for one, has been steady. On the other hand, they're predicting that at the end of it all, turnout will have been exceptional. Of course, as you know, Wolf, here in the state of Tennessee, what we have is early voting. Probably about 49% of the people who will have voted already voted before this day even began. So people here clearly excited about the race. The people on the Ford side here in Memphis saying they think turnout's very good. Back to you.
And they're saying that I assume voters that you're speaking with are pretty excited.
Yeah, there's a lot of emotion here, certainly in the Memphis area, up in Chattanooga area where Bob Corker was yesterday. People are very enthused about this race. They're really looking forward to the results. Both sides think they're going to win. It's all driven by turnout, as you know. Weather is an issue, though, because it's been raining in a large part of the state, Wolf.
Thanks very much, Joe, for that. We'll be watching that race very closely. And it's a showdown in the Show Me state where GOP Senator Jim Talent is challenged by Democrat Claire McCaskill. Our Jonathan Freed is in St. Louis. What does the voter turnout look like where you are, Jonathan?
Wolf, the turnout is high, and higher than we're told is normal for a midterm election. Those reports coming into us from around the state. We're also told that both candidates had to wait in line at their polling places today. The turnout has been that solid, and that is exactly what both camps have been hoping for, because in a dead heat like this one, they say turnout is going to be everything. Wolf?
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Democrats certainly confident they can take back control of the House of Representatives. They need 15 seats to do that. Let's go to Capitol Hill and our congressional correspondent, Dana Bash. Dana, what's behind the scenes going on with the Democrats specifically right now?
Well, you know, Wolf, politicians like to play a game, especially on Election Day, and that's the expectations game. They usually lower expectations for success, but not today. In fact, the Democratic House and Senate chairman of the campaign committees just had a briefing a short while ago. They were brimming with optimism, saying that they think that this will be an historic midterm election. Why? The strategy is to try to encourage voters who are out there to keep voting, to keep their volunteers out working, to get as many voters to the polls as possible. Meanwhile, Republicans here and elsewhere are actually playing the expectations game. In fact, they are making it very clear that they do think that it is very possible, likely, that they are going to lose the House of Representatives. The question is by how many seats, and that is the thing to look for. Both sides say today is the margin that Democrats perhaps will take the House by. What that margin will be will determine the dynamic here on Capitol Hill for the next 2 years.
Dana, thanks very much. And I want to thank not only Dana, but Ed Henry, Joe Johns, Jonathan Freed, Chris Lawrence, all of our reporters. They happen to be the best political team on television. Remember, for the latest campaign news at any time, check out our political ticker. Go to CNN.com/ticker. Jack Cafferty is part of that best political team on television as well.
Yeah. Voters in 37 states, Wolf, deciding on 205 ballot propositions today, which is a big increase from the last election. A lot of candidates, these ballot issues are a way to rally voters that might otherwise stay at home. Some of the questions before the voters include a ban on almost all abortions, that's in South Dakota, same-sex marriage bans, stem cell research, an increase in the minimum wage, eminent domain, the question of whether the government has the right to seize land, cigarette taxes, smoking bans, decriminalizing marijuana, and the most expensive ballot contest ever, California's Proposition 87, which would place a $4 billion tax on oil producers. Here's your chance to be creative. Here's the question this hour for the Cafferty File. What initiative would you put on your state's ballot if you could? Send your ideas to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile.
On these ballot initiatives, do you have a personal favorite, Jack?
No.
You don't like any of them, or you like them all?
I don't know. I haven't really looked into them all that much. I mean, they go from the sublime to the ridiculous. A $4 billion tax on the oil companies in California, a ban on all abortions in South Dakota, but you know, there's all kinds of ones in between, and I have no particular preference.
We'll be watching them all tonight as the results come in, Jack. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Up ahead, fresh information on issues important to you. We're going to have our very first look at the exit polls on these 2006 midterm elections. Also, problems at the polls in Colorado, long lines, and voters short on patience. We're going to examine some election day dilemmas. And in our strategy session, will President Bush change anything over his last 2 years in office if Democrats take control of Congress? From the CNN election headquarters in New York, you're in the Situation Room.
Coverage of America Votes 2006 is sponsored by Lunesta. Ask your doctor if Lunesta can bring peaceful sleep to your nights. And by AARP. Don't vote until you know where the candidates stand on the issues. Visit don'tvote.com. Log on to cnn.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
Does your restless mind keep you from sleeping? Do you lie awake, exhausted, but still can't sleep? Maybe it's time to ask your doctor if Lunesta's right for you. For a limited time, you're invited to take the Lunesta 7-Night Challenge. Ask your doctor how to get 7 nights of Lunesta absolutely free and see if it's the sleep aid you've been looking for. Non-narcotic Lunesta helps you fall asleep quickly, so take it right before bed. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active, because Lunesta will help you sleep all through the night. Until you know how you'll react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Do not take Lunesta with alcohol. Most sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Hurry! The Lunesta 7-Night Challenge is only available for a limited time. Get your coupon at lunesta.com and ask your doctor today.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
Pop quiz. What midsize SUV has a remarkably spacious interior, a class-leading warranty, a 5-star crash safety rating, and starts at $16,365 after $3,500 cash back? Is it A, the rugged Kia Sorento, B, the tough Kia Sorento, C, the durable Kia Sorento, or D, all of the above? Correct. You picked the Kia Sorento. And with $3,500 cash back, there really is no other choice. Hurry in and get $3,500 cash back on the comfortably refined Kia Sorento. To learn more, visit kia.com.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. You can lower your rising monthly payments by consolidating your debt with a home equity loan and paying one lower monthly rate. Just call 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com. eLoan. Radically simple.
Technology has made your morning easier. Why not your shave? The Philips Norelco Smart Touch XL is designed to shave more, with 3 shaving rings in each shaving head. And it stays on your neck, so even tricky hairs are cut. Simplicity is making every stroke count.
And this just coming into CNN, our very first look at those exit polls from some of the races. Joining us now are senior political analyst Bill Schneider and Marcus Mabry, senior editor at Newsweek magazine. Bill Schneider, I take it in these first exit polls, we're getting a huge surprise.
Well, we're certainly getting a lot of voters with mentioning a lot of issues. Is this a one-issue race? It is not. This is an issue when we ask people, what was the issue that was extremely important to you in casting your vote? 42% said the answer was corruption in Washington, followed very closely by the issue of terrorism, an issue that the Republicans ran on and won on in the last 2 elections. The economy just behind that at 39%, 37% citing the issue of Iraq. So it looks like a lot of issues were on the minds of voters today around the country. And when it comes to Iraq, we asked people, do you approve or disapprove of the war in Iraq? And the answer was pretty one-sided. 57% of the voters said they disapprove of the war in Iraq. 41% said they approve. You know, they used to say all politics is local. Not this time. When we asked people what issues determine your vote, national issues or local issues, it wasn't even close, by almost 2 to 1. 62% said it was national issues that made the biggest difference. Local issues, just 33%. So this is an election in which, in a rare occasion, all politics was pretty much national.
And I want Bill, you to weigh in as well. What if anything, can we learn or surmise from this surprise? It's pretty much of a surprise that the number one issue, at least according to these exit polls, on the minds of voters, Marcus, is corruption and not necessarily Iraq, which seems to be number 4 on this list.
Well, Wolf, I know it's interesting because that question didn't ask, though, specifically what was the top number one. That asked what is most important. So you'll see that those numbers add up to more than 100. So voters were not actually forced, in this case, to say what was the number one issue. So what we are finding correctly is where the trend is. And where the trend is that corruption was an issue. It's interesting enough. I think maybe perhaps the first lesson we learned from this is never listen to the pundits. Wait for the voters to speak. But clearly, Iraq was an important issue. The only good news from those early exit poll statistics for the Republicans is the fact that terrorism was a leading issue. That has been the GOP's trump card in the last 3 elections. That was the only good news for them out of those numbers. Corruption being a problem in Washington is really bad news for the Republicans, because what that means is you're talking about the party in power. The party controlling every one of the levers of power in Washington are the Republicans, whether executive or legislative branch, and that's really bad news for the Republicans.
Is it fair, though, Bill Schneider, because you study these polls closer than anyone I know, that when it comes to the issue of terrorism, that we have assumed in the past that was a so-called good issue for Republicans, but in recent polls, at least some of them that I saw, there's a sense that maybe Democrats can deal with this issue maybe even better than Republicans?
Very interesting question, and in the exit poll, we actually asked people, do you think Democrats can deal with the issue of terrorism and the threat to the country? A majority said yes, and a majority said Republicans could deal well with terrorism. So in the poll, people think both parties can deal with terrorism. It may not turn out to be the big issue for Republicans that it's been in the past.
Take a look at these graphics. We'll show them to our viewers right now. And Bill, once again, explain this first graphic that we're showing our viewers.
Which mattered more to your vote was the question we asked, national issues or local issues? And it turns out national issues outweighed local issues by almost 2-to-1, 62 to 33%. This means all politics was more national than local in this election. A lot of Democrats think that's very good news for them because they wanted this to be a national referendum on Iraq and on President Bush. We'll see what actually happens.
So in other words, the old Tip O'Neill adage, all politics is local, not necessarily in this election.
That is exactly right. This comes closer to what Europeans would call a parliamentary election, where a lot of people didn't pay a lot of attention to local issues, local candidates. They were voting Democrat or Republican based on their view of what's happening in the country.
And Marcus, before I go to the next screen, I want you to weigh in. The fact that voters had these national issues on their mind more than local issues, can we naturally assume that's good for the Democrats?
You know, Wolf, I think we can. Again, 2-to-1. National issues versus local issues is incredibly bad news for the Republicans. The one particular national issue, though, other than the terrorism issue, and Bill did a great job of just pointing out that a majority of Americans believe either party can handle that issue. The one other issue is the tax issue. That was the other issue that the president was hammering away on in these last days of the election campaign. So it'll be interesting to see. That's the only national issue I think that might at all be in the Republicans' favor. So right now, it looks like bad news.
Take a look at this graphic, Bill Schneider. These are the 4 top issues I assume that were on the mind of voters as they went to the polls today based on these exit polls. Corruption, terrorism, the economy, and Iraq. All fairly close in terms of 37 to 42%. Not necessarily a huge spread there.
That's exactly right. That's the point Marcus was making. We know they add to more than 100% because there were 4 separate questions. Is this issue extremely important to your vote? 42% said corruption, 40% terrorism, 39% the economy, 37% Iraq. They're very closely bunched. What it really tells us is all these issues were important in very nearly equal measure to voters. This was not a one-issue election.
All right, we're going to continue to watch these exit polls as they come in. Bill Schneider, Marcus Mabry's going to be with. They're both going to be with us throughout the night here. It could be a long night coming up. You just heard some of the information we're learning from the exit polls. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in our strategy session. That's coming up. And you're also getting your first sneak peek of what CNN's election headquarters is going to look like tonight, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. From CNN's election headquarters here in New York, you're in the Situation Room.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com. Do you, Morgan Ambrose Robert, take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
Of course, that very much depends on what you mean by the question, do you? Forward-looking statements involve risk and uncertainties. We're opening up a can of worms here. No single answer readily presents itself. I mean, have we really explored every avenue? Have the parties made certain representations, warranties, and agreements in connection with the merger? Do the parties agree to be subject to the satisfaction of the regulatory approvals as required to consummate the transaction? Who amongst us will ever know?
I do.
I pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Less talk. Make it happen. The Royal Bank of Scotland Group.
What really happens when our war veterans come home? Healing the scars. An unforgettable Anderson Cooper 360. CNN Monday night, 10 Eastern.
Climb aboard the Mount Hood Railroad and experience a different world. On your 4-hour journey, you'll travel through Oregon's most beautiful scenery with gorgeous views of Mount Hood and Mount Adams. You'll pass the unspoiled waters of the Hood River, through forests, meadows, and country settings, and into Hood River's famous fruit valleys. Choose a fun-filled adventure on the historic excursion train, the luxury dinner train, or the Sunday champagne brunch train. Oregon looks and feels different when you experience it aboard the Mount Hood Railroad and Dinner Train. Call now for reservations.
The eagle takes his prey by surprise with a sleazy guitars and a trusty beat. This next number sneaks right up on you. It's Eagles of Death Metal with I Only Want You, and their hook-heavy tones will surely leave a mark.
We're all VJs. Pick and play hundreds of free music videos on demand with Comcast Digital Cable. It's Comcastic.
Tomorrow, election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
Here's a taste of what you're going to see tonight. We've pulled up the vote boards in the election wall that's right over here. This is how we'll keep track of all the races simultaneously tonight. We got the idea from the good old days when the networks used to show those Solari boards. Here are some of the races from 1960, the year JFK ran against Richard Nixon. Joining us now is our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield. You remember those days very well.
George McGovern. He lost that year and won in '62, but people like us are the only people who know that or care. But what we want to show you, though, is what we're going to be doing on an hour-by-hour basis to give the viewers a guide into what we see. Now, 7 o'clock is when the first polls close. Indiana and Kentucky. Those are keys because there are 5 endangered Republicans in those seats. If the Democrats take most of those, we may see a wave. And Virginia, a Senate race, we're not going to be able to call that, nobody thinks, between George Allen and Jim Webb.
We're not going to be able to project a winner.
Sorry, I have to hear that. And Vermont is likely to elect the first self-avowed socialist to the U.S. Senate.
7:30 now.
Right, 7:30. Ohio closes. That's one of those Republican-held Senate seats, Mike DeWine, where Democrats really hope to win, and there are as many as 5 endangered Republican House members in Ohio. It's been very rough for the Republican Party out there. Between Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana, we may know early whether this so-called wave is a wave or more like a little trickle.
8 p.m. is the next hour that we're going to be watching closely. And take a look at all of these states. Some 16 states close the polls, close their voting at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Right, but the key here is 5 of the key Senate seats that Democrats will need either to retain or win to take the Senate. In Maryland, in Missouri, in New Jersey, in Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. Probably what happens in those 5 states, as much as any other hour, once we find out what happens, will determine whether the Republicans keep or lose the Senate.
Another huge batch at 9 p.m. East, or 8:30 actually. There's some Arkansas that closes. There's a gubernatorial contest there.
Yeah, I have to say that would be possibly one of the lesser things we'll be watching. But 9 o'clock, a whole passel of states close, and a couple of interesting stories arise. One is New York. There's no question we don't think about who's going to win the governorship or Senate seats, but there are as many as 5 or 6, mostly moderate House Republicans. Many, maybe all of them could go if the Democratic wave really is produced. And also in Colorado and Arizona, there are Republicans who should not have been in trouble this year in the House who are. And that's one of the keys to tonight. Democrats, maybe picking up gains everywhere but the South.
And then at 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. Eastern, we're going to see 4 more states close their voting.
Obviously, Montana, the Conrad Burns tester race is one that everybody's going to be looking at. And again, in Nevada, there may be a switch to a Democratic House seat from a Republican that we did not expect at the start of this year. That's the way we move east to west, as always, because that's when the polls close. And depending on how strong or how weak the so-called Democratic wave is, we may know early, we may be here a while.
11 p.m., some other states closed, but we'll leave that for another time. We're going to be spending a lot of time looking at these boards tonight, Jeff. Thanks very much. Let's check in with Zane Verjee for a closer look at some other stories making news. Zane?
Hi, Wolf. A suicide bomber blew himself up in a coffee shop in Baghdad today. Iraqi police say that 17 people were killed in the attack in a Shia neighborhood. Hours earlier, mortars struck a Sunni neighborhood in Baghdad, killing 5 people. The violence comes 2 days after former Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein was sentenced to death. Many voters are coping with stormy weather as they go to the polls today. The problem was especially bad in western Washington state. Flooding and heavy rains closed at least one polling station there and closed roads and schools as well. Police had to rescue some stranded drivers. Rains also dampened voters in parts of the southeast. And Britney Spears apparently is splitting from husband Kevin Federline. The website TMZ.com says the pop star has filed for divorce in a Los Angeles court. Spears reportedly cites irreconcilable differences. She's asking for custody of the couple's 1-year-old son, Sean Preston, and 2-month-old Jaden James. Spears and Federline got married in 2004. Wolf?
We wish both of them only the best down the road, Zane. Thanks very much for that. Coming up, have you voted yet today? Many people have cast their ballots. What motivated them to go to the polls? Was it Iraq, President Bush, something else? We're going to check that out. And already there were reports of voting problems across the country, glitches, some more serious allegations of possible intimidation. The FBI has now gotten involved. We'll explain what's going on. We're live from CNN election headquarters in New York, and you're in the Situation Room.
Coverage of America Votes 2006 is sponsored by the Partnership for Prescription Assistance and by Norfolk Southern. The future of transportation is the thoroughbred of transportation.
I'm Montel Williams. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance is traveling to all 50 states, making stops to help people pay for their medicine.
I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to afford my medications, and PPA gave me back my life.
This past year, America's pharmaceutical companies gave away more than $5 billion worth of medicines to people in need.
It has been a lifesaver for me in more ways than one.
If you need help, just call 1-888-4PPA now. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
My business spends thousands of dollars on materials,
on supplies,
On equipment.
So when I heard about a credit card that gives you up to 5% cash back,
I didn't need a second opinion.
With the Platinum Business Cash Rebate Card from American Express, you can get up to 5% cash back automatically with no limit on how much you can earn. Call 1-800-NOW-OPEN to apply.
Cash back on EKG machines.
cash back on drywall,
on engines,
On computers.
even pizza.
There's no annual fee and no interest for 6 months. Plus, you'll get the service you deserve from Open, the small business team at American Express.
$640 back. Nice.
The Platinum Business Cash Rebate Card from American Express. Call now for a 60-second decision and start getting up to 5% cash back.
cash back that goes right back into my pocket.
This election night, the best political team on television tells it like it really is. Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Lou Dobbs, Paula Zahn, and Larry King. Election night, CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
You're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Happening now, we're getting fresh information from our exit polls. Our senior political analyst Bill Schneider standing by to share the latest information just coming in. Also, why is the FBI now getting involved in today's election? And voting difficulties, long lines in places like Colorado and Virginia are just a few of the problems at the polls. From the CNN election headquarters in New York, I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Right now, we're looking at some important information we're getting in from the exit polls. Let's bring in our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. He's got the latest for us. Bill?
Wolf, the exit polls, President Bush has been the subject of a lot of discussion in this campaign. But you know what? He's not on the ballot. Congress is on the ballot, and we ask people, do you approve or disapprove of the job that the Congress is doing? Now, take a look. When people were asked that question, 62% said that they disapprove of the job Congress is doing, 36% approve. That is a very negative judgment on the Congress. They're on the ballot, and it does not bode well for the survival of a Republican Congress on this election day. Now, another issue that's been widely debated is the vote count. Will the results be counted accurately? We asked the voters, do you think your vote will be counted accurately? And this may be a surprise, but 88% of the voters say they are confident that their vote will be accurately counted. Only 11% of the voters are not confident. Most of them, by the way, are Democrats. So there is a strong view that my vote will be counted despite all the reports of problems at the polls. This is one of the reasons why it's so hard to get election reform. Most voters in most parts of the country will say, yeah, I know there are problems with the voting procedures, but there's no problem for me. Wolf?
All right, we're going to continue to monitor these exit poll results together with you, Bill. Thanks very much. The exit polls are shedding some light on what voters are concerned about this election day. Joining us now, our political analysts, Democratic strategist James Carville and Paul Begala, former GOP Congressman J.C. Watts, and CNN contributor and Washington fellow at the Claremont Institute, Bill Bennett. Guys, thanks to all of you for coming in. What do you make, I'll start with you, James, of this earlier result that Bill showed from the polls, that among the major issues of concern, corruption seems to be the highest concern among those people going in. What do you make of that?
I don't want to be too technical, but as I understand it, they didn't force people to make a choice. They said, do you think this is a major issue or not?
Is it extremely important to you?
And who would not say that corruption is not extremely important to them? As I understand the way that they asked the question, I would have preferred that they make people choose between corruption, Iraq, economy, education, whatever they want to, just as it's a technical
We're going to put
thing.
those numbers up on the screen and show them to our viewers. But were you surprised that more people said they were extremely concerned about corruption than, let's say, Iraq?
Yeah, kind of, but not to be technical about it, I just have a slight problem with the way the question was worded. But even worded like that more people said corruption in Iraq does surprise me.
What do you think, Bill?
Well, you know, people are different, and the first thing you learn in politics is there are people out there who have a different view, especially at this table, I suppose.
I assume you guys have a different view.
We better have. You'll have a boring evening. I'm sure we will. But the American people are complex. They don't fall into neat categories all the time, Republican, Democrat, Independent. When you ask them about issues and voting, whole bunches of things come to their mind. And this might have been the first thing that came to their mind because they were just talking about it. Or if someone leads with that question, I'm with James, they're going to say, sure. What are you going to do? Smile at corruption? Say, not a problem?
I mean, everybody, I can't imagine, Paul, why 100% of the people wouldn't say corruption is extremely important. Terrorism, the economy, Iraq, it seems like an obvious no-brainer.
Well, no, I mean, when I die, I want to be buried in South Texas because I want to remain active in the Democratic Party. I mean, there are still places in America where the corruption is fairly endemic. I do think, though, that Republicans ought to be concerned for this reason. I think Bill and James are right that a binary choice like that is probably not the most illustrative way to tease that out. But still, I think one thing Democrats have been trying to say to the country is that Republicans may have become corrupt in the Lord Acton sense, right? That absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so rather than this scandal or that scandal, Congressman Ney recently pleading guilty and others, I think Democrats tried to make a case that there's systemic corruption that happens when one party holds the House, the Senate, and the White House. I don't know if that's how people read that question, though.
Is it your sense, JC, that corruption being so much on the minds of voters today, that necessarily translates into bad news for Republican candidates?
Well, I think corruption is a concern of the American people. I'm not so sure that that is going to bode badly for Republicans when you consider those who were caught with their hand in the cookie jar. They stepped down. They resigned, and I think it was there was time for Republicans to get some traction on some other issues, i.e. the economy, some of the things that's going on in Iraq, the battle against terrorism, and so forth. So, but we can talk about this the rest of the night. My thing on exit polls, I learned in 2004. Don't believe them until the final results are in.
Well, we haven't projected any winners or anything like that. We're just reporting on what these exit polls are showing, what's on the minds on some of the issues as far as voters are concerned. We're not going to share specific exit poll information on races until the polls in those respective states close.
I think, but the point that James made off the bat is, are people going to say they're not concerned about corruption? I think the fact that the question was asked in the way that it was worded, would make me a little nervous about putting this much emphasis on exit polling.
Paul, what do you think of the 62% disapproval rating for Congress?
Right. That's real. That's a question that's been asked since 1948. George Gallup started this whole business of public opinion research in politics. And a 62% disapprove is extraordinarily high.
Because this is a Republican-led House and a Republican-led Senate.
Yeah, well, people are not happy. They're not happy because of things like corruption. And to be fair, I mean, there's been a recent run of bad dudes in the Republican Party. The American people have heard about the disgusting Mark Foley situation, Abramoff. We had the thing with Duke Cunningham. It's been in the news. There've been some Democrats too, money in the freezer, but we've had a bad run.
We kicked our problems on ice.
Yeah, that's right. Well, your timing is much better for obvious
Cold,
reasons.
hard cash there.
But
that was a Democratic Congress.
So, but I mean, the reaction to Congress, people can be upset about corruption issues. They're not, they're not being straightforward. Also, people are angry about lack of action. I know a lot of people are very unhappy about
Especially
immigration.
Conservatives.
Yes, very unhappy.
Go ahead,
and spending.
Bill Snyder said earlier, he said most Americans believe that there's trouble in the system in voting, but they believe their vote will count. Well, that question is, people believe members of Congress are corrupt, but what do they think about their member? And I think, again, that's where this election is going to turn one way or the other tonight.
Here's what Charlie Cook is quoted as saying in the New York Times. He's a political analyst,
Louisiana man,
independent kind of guy. He said this: if the Democrats' mood, I think you'd see a Jim Jones situation. It would be a mass suicide if the Democrats fail tonight. What do you think, James?
I think he's exactly right, but it wouldn't be Kool-Aid. I think we'd all gather on cliffs and jump off. It would be like the Japanese soldiers.
And a failure.
How
do you define?
Wait a politically correct way to do it.
James, how do you define failure?
Well, you don't win the House. I mean, you got to win. That would be
because the Senate has always been much more problematic.
You can't say if we pick up 4 or 5 Senate seats that's a failure. That's a pretty good number of Senate seats. But if we don't pick up the House, I would be the whole Democratic Party. I'd be wearing more than a trash can on my head tonight. I promise you that.
We'll be watching. What do you think? You think he's going to have to wear more than a trash can on his head?
No, I have no idea. But I think that's right. If they don't take the House, that's big trouble. If they take the House narrowly, it's not failure, but it's disappointment. Particularly because there are a number of Democrats running on very conservative credentials. If they get 18, 19, 20, that's a disappointment. If they get 2, 3 in the Senate, I think that's a disappointment.
What do you think?
Correct the expectations.
The expectations game is significant.
Right. This is a win or lose deal, and it's winner take all in the House of Representatives. I was a staffer there back when Dick Gephardt was the majority leader. It was good to be the majority leader. You could run the place, as Jim Wright did, with an iron fist, or as Tom DeLay did for the Republican Party. So 15 is good enough. Any Democrat who wants more than that, they may get it. But it's the Senate. The minority has real power in the Senate. In the House, the minority has almost no power.
Well, let's speak to JC. He used to be in the United States Congress. He knows what it's like to be in the majority and be in the minority in the House of Representatives.
Well, I was never in the minority, knock on wood.
I'm glad you refer to that as wood.
We never dealt with that. But Wolf, regardless of what the numbers are tonight, I do think Democrats will gain seats. It's going to make it more difficult to govern. The margin's going to be smaller and smaller. I have been in the House when we've had about 25, 26 vote margin. I've also been there when we've had about an 8-vote margin, and it's much tougher with 8 than it is with 28. So it's going to change the landscape regardless of what the Democrats, what their numbers are at the end of the night.
She's not measuring the drapes yet, Nancy Pelosi, is she?
No, the Democratic leaders I've talked to are very superstitious. I mean, they understand the stakes here, and they understand that their voters will be extraordinarily disappointed if they don't take back the House. But numbers higher than 15 are numbers I can't get them interested in.
In that poll, the exit poll that Bill Schneider was just telling us about, by a 2-to-1 margin, voters were telling the people who were conducting this poll that they're more interested this time in national issues as opposed to local issues. How does that translate, good or bad, for the Republicans or the Democrats?
Well, I don't know. It depends which national issues. By the way, I'm keeping a list of metaphors. We have trash cans now, Kool-Aid, measuring the drapes. We'll have a report on this by some communications professor tomorrow. Both parties, I think, have nationalized this. And because we are in war, because of the war in Iraq, it's appropriate to be having this debate. I understand that may cut some against the Republican Party, but that is what we should be talking about. And I think more of our politics has been nationalized because more of our conversations are nationalized because of the role of the media, and not just television and radio here, but the blogs and the internet.
James, what do you think?
Look, we're at war. And so somebody's going to say I'm more concerned about the war than I am the pothole. Sure. I mean, it's just, and people see these images all the time. They think of terrorism as an international issue. So they think of all of, health care, or the whole laundry list of it. I'm actually, frankly, surprised that you have 32 or 33% that say they're more concerned with local issues than national issues. When I looked at that number, I would look at that crosstab.
That's going to be a lot of Republicans who probably don't want to think about Iraq or things that may not be going well for Republicans. But the president helped to nationalize this, probably to the consternation of a lot of local Republican candidates around the country. He came out and he said, if the Democrats win, the terrorists win. He nationalized this race in extraordinary terms, and he personalized it to himself, a very unpopular president. Had I been his political advisor, I would not have advised him to do either.
All right, I'll wrap it up, JC, because we're out of time.
Well, the national issue in terms of terrorism cuts both ways. I think it will drive Democrat votes, but it will drive Republican votes as well, because they say when evil people say they will do evil things to the United States of America, we want somebody in the White House that will take them seriously.
All right,
this president has.
We got to leave it there, but you guys are not going anywhere. You're going to be with us all night. Could be a long night. We're going to watch and wait and see what's going on. I want to thank James Carville, Paul Begala, J.C. Watts, Bill Bennett. They are part of the best political team on television. A reminder, for the latest campaign news at any time, check out the CNN political ticker. Go to cnn.com/ticker. Still to come, the FBI is getting involved in today's election. Yes, you heard it. Our justice correspondent Kelly Arena is standing by to tell us what is going on. And long lines and short tempers, just a few examples of voter problems as Americans vote. We're going to have more on these issues. The poll problems, lots more coming up.
Strategy Session, brought to you by Bobby, in theaters everywhere Thanksgiving Day.
Senator Kennedy, welcome to the Ambassador Hotel.
More and more young men keep coming back in body bags.
What if Kennedy loses? We can all forget it, man. I'm 19, Jimmy. I don't want to go to Vietnam.
Let's keep the brown man down.
Just send the brown man back across the border.
We didn't cross the border crossed us.
You're on stage in Night Shark. Then you're introducing Senator Kennedy in the embassy ballroom.
Now that Dr. King is gone, Mama left for Bob.
Bobby, rated R. In theaters everywhere Thanksgiving Day.
I saw several girls raped.
Raped right in front of my eyes.
Then they burned them to death.
They killed my sons.
Then my husband. And my brother.
The government just wants us to disappear.
The rest of the world isn't doing anything.
Isn't doing anything.
Anything.
Escape to a world of vibrant color, captivating design, and luxurious style with Stainmaster Carpet. During the Stainmaster Carpet 20th anniversary celebration, experience a whole new era in style and beauty for your home. Stainmaster Carpet, always stylish, always beautiful. For a retailer near you, visit stainmaster.com.
Closed captioning provided by Activon. Applied directly where it hurts.
New from the makers of Head-On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
I'm Montel Williams. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance is traveling to all 50 states, making stops to help people pay for their medicine.
I was in a lot of pain. I wasn't able to afford my medications, and PPA gave me back my life.
This past year, America's pharmaceutical companies gave away more than $5 billion worth of medicines to people in need.
It has been a lifesaver for me in more ways than one.
If you need help, just call 1-888-4PPA now. The Partnership for Prescription Assistance, on the road to helping you.
Let's get back to the problems at the polls. While most of the reported problems are technical, there are some charges of voter intimidation in Virginia. Let's bring in our justice correspondent, Kelly Arena. What's the latest, and is the FBI investigating? Kelly.
The sure are, Wolf. Law enforcement officials tell us that the FBI is conducting a preliminary investigation in Virginia. Voters in at least 8 counties allege that they received intimidating phone calls before the election. In one instance, a voter says that a caller said her polling place had changed when it had not. Now, this alleged voter suppression is a federal offense, and agents at this point will basically conduct interviews and work on putting together a case if there is evidence to support charges. For the first time, Wolf, the FBI has designated so-called election coordinators in all of its 56 field offices, and those agents are specifically trained in understanding voting statutes and are designated to take complaints and look into potential violations. And of course, Wolf, we've talked a lot about the more than 850 monitors and observers who were on hand today in 22 states sent by the Department of Justice, and they're there to deal with issues as they arise.
Thank you very much. Kelly's going to be on top of this story all night. Voting glitches have been popping up at some polling stations across the country this election day, as we now know, and our Ali Velshi is keeping close track of all of them. Ali?
Wolf, a couple hours ago I told you about a problem in Denver where they'd been in court for about 3 hours. The Democrats had gone to court to extend the voting deadline in Denver County. That has been denied. We just have news now that the judge in Denver County has denied an extension. Those are the pictures you're looking at outside the Botanical Gardens in Denver, where they've tried out this voting area, this voting center concept where people just come and vote no matter where they live, if they live in the state. Hasn't worked out in Denver, and the Democrats are not getting the extension they wanted. In Illinois, however, there's a second county, Kane County, western suburbs of Chicago, where they're going to court to extend the voting there because of delays in opening. If they get that, it'll be alongside Cook County, where 2 precincts are extended tonight, and over in Indiana, Delaware County, outside of Muncie, or around Muncie, they're extending for 2 hours and 45 minutes because of delays blamed on voting machines. Wolf?
Ali, thank you. We'll stay on top of this story with you as well. Lou Dobbs is here, getting ready for his program that begins right at the top of the hour. What are you working on?
Wolf, as you might expect, Election Day. Coming up at 6 p.m. here on CNN, we'll have complete coverage of today's elections. Elections many are now calling a referendum on the president and his conduct of the war in Iraq. We'll have live reports for you from key races, the latest exit poll estimates on who voted and why, and of course, the best political analysis anywhere. Also, this election will be the most expensive midterm election in history. And guess who's paying? Corporate America, of course. Big business expecting a huge payoff, no matter which party wins tonight. We'll have that special report, and will your vote count? Election officials are reporting problems with e-voting machines all across the country. One of the nation's leading authorities on e-voting, Warren Stewart, is among our guests. All of that and a great deal more coming up at the top of the hour right here on CNN. We hope you'll be with us for that. Wolf?
these problems with the voting machines, the glitches that we're hearing about across the country. You'd done a lot of reporting on this coming in today. Are these just little technical snafus, or you see any evidence that there's potentially a real serious problem out there?
Well, we're looking at what are right now, I would say, manageable problems. But it is early, and we began with Ohio and Indiana in particular, and Florida with problems, and these are states that have had problems before, so all of us have our antenna up, and we'll be reporting on the very latest over the course of the next hour and what's happening there. A number of people talking about extending polling times in order to meet with these issues. In some cases, for example, in Florida, not even been able to start the machines. Luckily, that was confined to just a few precincts, but the problems are there, and we'll just see how widespread and profound.
Because as you know, people go to vote. A lot of these people, they have to work. They can't take 2-3 hours off and just wait in line while the polling personnel get their act together.
Well, we knew going into this, 2 million people are going to be working in polls all across the country today and throughout, I'm sure, part of the evening for many people. And we were short poll workers, but we're also short training time. Some of these people with e-voting machines, and we're going to see e-voting machines across the country today. Just about 40% of the folks voting were using these new e-voting machines for the first time. So it is an issue. We'll find out if it's been managed well.
We'll continue to watch with you. You'll be here throughout the night with all of us. Thanks very much, Lou. And just ahead, Jack Cafferty probably knows what initiatives he would put on the ballot if he could, and the politicians have had their say. But what would you have voters decide? And it's the party no blogger wants to miss, and you won't either. We'll give you a front row seat at tonight's election blogging bash. From the CNN election headquarters in New York, you're in the Situation Room.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
Power plays, nasty campaigns, accusations left and right. It all comes down to election night. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
November is National Diabetes Month. Did you know that diabetes leads to many serious complications such as stroke, eye disease, and kidney disease, and even amputations? This health update provided by these friends in our community.
What's hidden inside your SUV? Introducing the new BMW X3 Sports Activity Vehicle, built from the ground up for complete control and premium comfort. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
See your Portland area BMW Center today or visit OregonBMW.com.
Everybody knows it's my buddy and me. He's everywhere I go, always there for me.
The new LitterMate Elite Self-Cleaning Litter Box means less time cleaning and more quality time with your best friend. Plus new innovations like an ionic air cleaner to safely clean away odor and a sleep timer for nighttime use. See the full range of LitterMate products where you buy your pet supplies.
Everybody knows it's my buddy and me.
LitterMate, clean enough for your cat.
Portland Children's Investment Fund, helping 10,000 of the city's neediest kids get a healthy start in life, succeed in school, stay safe after school. Your investment is paying off. Portland Children's Investment Fund, allowing all our children to reach their potential.
November is National Diabetes Month. Did you know that 18 million Americans have diabetes? That's more than 6% of the U.S. population. This health update provided by these friends in our community.
Election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
Check back with Jack Cafferty. He's here.
Voters in 37 different states around the country tonight deciding on 205 ballot propositions. Some of these people won't finish voting until Friday afternoon. Everything from same-sex marriage bans to stem cell research to an increase in the minimum wage. The question we asked is, what initiative would you put on your state's ballot if you could? John in Jacksonville, Florida wrote, all evangelical churches that use the pulpit to campaign for a certain political party must lose their tax-exempt status. Let's get back to that separation of church and state thing that worked so well for over 200 years. John in Alabama, Jack, an initiative to provide some type of financial incentive for the wounded veterans of the Iraq War. Randall in Merced, California, I'd put an initiative that our lawmakers don't actually get paid until the end of their term. And then we get to vote to decide what pay grade they deserve based on the job they've done. Aaron in Toronto, how about making it illegal to start a war just to impress your daddy's golf buddies? MC in Stevensville, Maryland, my ballot referendum would be all redistricting, would have to be done using only straight lines. Greg in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'd put the most basic of all initiatives on the ballot, limiting the number of terms any senator or representative can stay in office. And Ed in Montana, the initiative I'd like to see is one that says if your pets are smarter than you are not allowed to vote. If you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty file, where you can read more of these online. That might knock turnout down some.
Very creative. Maybe some of these initiatives that our viewers like, some politicians will actually put it on a ballot.
Well, my guess is they make as much sense as some of the stuff that's there.
Jack, thanks very much. Yeah. Jack will be back. Up next, coffee, food, and bloggers. Lots of them. Don't worry if you didn't get an invite in the mail. We're going to take you to our big blogger party in Washington, D.C. You're going to want to see this. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
America Votes 2006 is sponsored by AARP. Don't vote until you know where the candidates stand on the issues. Visit don'tvote.com. Log on to cnn.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
There are over 14 million headaches happening in this country today. But too many go untreated, simply because we're away from home. So we created a fast, new way to get the pure pain relief of Tylenol. Introducing Tylenol Go Tabs. They're portable and chewable for fast headache relief, even away from home. It's one small step towards a pain-free world. Stop. Think. Tylenol Go Tabs.
It's time to play Take on Orbitz. This week's winner is you. That's right, you.
Orbitz Passport to Savings. Save $200 on qualifying trips to any international destination. Only when you Orbitz and go.
And don't forget your toothbrush.
At Coors, we have a responsibility to help prevent underage drinking. As a parent, I understand that responsibility. 75% of teens say parents are their #1 influence as they decide to drink or not. That's why Coors brings you MVParents.com, a website built by Search Institute, experts on youth development. Here you'll find tools to empower your teens to make the right decisions. So visit MVParents.com and know that we at Coors are as committed as you are to preventing underage drinking.
Are you struggling every month to pay your mortgage, your credit cards, car loans, and other bills? We can show you how to lower your total monthly payments and guarantee you the lowest rate and fee, even if you have a credit problem. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
The champagne glasses may seem familiar, but you've never seen a car virtually park itself. LS. Unprecedented. At your Lexus dealer.
An inspiring story of heroism. Our doctors and nurses in Baghdad.
Gives me goosebumps when I see how strong those guys are.
the courage that I just would never expect people to have.
Combat Hospital. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
All right, let's go to Washington, D.C., specifically the Trist Internet Cafe. Our internet reporters, Abby Tatton and Jackie Schechner, are there with a party of sorts that's going on. It's the first time, guys, we've ever done this.
It is the first time, Wolf. We are joined by more than 25 prominent bloggers, left and right. They've come in from all across the country. These are people who have been very much getting involved this election cycle. They've been using their sites to get out the vote. They've been using their sites to fundraise, using new online tools that have become available in the last couple of years. Very much getting involved and supporting candidates. So we are hosting them here tonight, watching their reactions as the results come in and getting commentary from some of these guys. We're also joined from around the country by a couple more webcams from bloggers that couldn't make it. And Jackie Schechner is here with me as well, and she's in the thick of things here at Trist tonight. Jackie?
Well, Abby, I just wanted to give everybody a sense of what the room is like here. Imagine if you're throwing a party for, I don't know, 50 of your closest friends in your living room, and they're all talking about what you're talking about. Jim Garrity from National Review Online. I've got James Joyner from Outside the Beltway behind me. The guys from America Blog, John and Joe behind me. Nick Gillespie from Reason Hit and Run. I've got the group of women I call my North Carolina contingent behind me. We've got Betsy Newmark, Lori Bird, Pam Spalding from Pam's House Blend, Geraldine Merritt from Colorado. We have brought them in from everywhere. They're sort of biding their time right now until we start to get some sense of which way these races are going, blogging about voter irregularities, blogging about sort of what they're hearing on the ground. Go to cnn.com/blog party, and that'll give you a link to all of the bloggers that are here tonight, and you can hear it from us, and you can also hear it firsthand from them. Wolf, back to you.
All right, guys, sounds like a lot of fun. Good work. We'll be checking back with you throughout the night. And remember, we're here in the Situation Room weekdays, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be back for our complete coverage in 1 hour, 7 p.m. Eastern, coverage of America Votes 2006. Until then, thanks very much for joining us. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. Let's continue our coverage right now. Lou Dobbs standing by. Lou?
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to our special coverage of one of the tightest congressional races in years, certainly the most expensive. The first polling places are just about to close. We'll have the very latest for you from the first exit poll projections within the hour. We'll also have live reports from the key races all across the country. The latest on e-voting problems. They have materialized as we feared, but they also may be entirely manageable. And we'll be hearing from some of the very best political analysts anywhere. All of that and a great deal more straight ahead here tonight.
This is a special edition of Lou Dobbs Tonight, America Votes 2006, live from CNN's election headquarters in New York. Here now, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. Voters tonight are casting ballots in an election that could have a tremendous influence on the future direction of the country. The results could, in fact, change the conduct of the war in Iraq and determine the fate of President Bush's second-term agenda. But this election is unlikely to stop the war on our middle class, to end our illegal immigration and border security crisis, or prevent corporate America from trying to influence our government. In a moment, we'll have the live reports from Washington and expert analysis from 3 of the very brightest political analysts in the country. But first, the initial exit poll results are now available just within the past hour. We can give you early estimates of who voted in this election, and we can give you considerable analysis of why. Bill Snyder is here to do exactly that. With the very latest on these estimates, Bill Snyder.
Lou, you call them initial results. Keep in mind, people are still voting around the country, and we're still taking polls of voters around the country. The West Coast, for instance, polls will be open for many hours. But we're going to show you the results among people who were interviewed so far. What were the issues that determined how people vote? Was this a national election or a local election? We asked people which was more important to them. And the answer was, by nearly 2 to 1, people said they were voting in this election on national issues, 62%, local issues, 33%. Now, does this mean the Democrats are bound to do well? Democrats were hoping that it would be a referendum on Iraq, but there were other national issues, like the war on terror. Republicans talked about taxes. How about that economy? How did the voters polled so far feel the economy is going in this country? Did they say economic conditions are excellent or good? 47% said that. Not so good or poor, 52%. It appears that voters are not very bullish on the economy, even though the Republicans in the White House were talking it up. They are divided. So it doesn't look like the economy was a determinative issue in this election. But here's something that wasn't even close to 50-50. That is, how do people feel about Congress? And the answer was overwhelmingly 62% said they disapprove of the way Congress is handling its job. Only 36% approve. That could be a very powerful mandate for change, at least a strong indicator, Lou, of broken government.
Bill, thank you very much. Bill Snyder, and Bill throughout the evening here will be giving us his analysis of these exit polls and the results as they continue to flow from the polling booths all across the country. Bill, thank you very much. Democrats tonight are hopeful that they can win control of the House of Representatives for the first time in more than a decade. They are less sure about their prospects in the battle for the Senate. Our congressional correspondent, Dana Bash, has the report now from Washington. Dana.
Well, Lou, House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi came to the Capitol, today, and our producer, Ted Barrett, bumped into her. She was looking downright giddy. He jokingly said, "How are you, Madam Speaker?" And she replied, "I like the title," but then quickly caught herself and said, "Not yet." Now, but in public, you certainly hear some caution from Nancy Pelosi. In private, however, we understand that she and her staff are already talking about whether or not they should move their suite of offices to the much larger ones now occupied by the current House Speaker, Dennis Hastert. Now, there was not a lot of caution at all earlier today at a briefing by the House and Senate Democratic chairman of the campaign committees, talking about the fact that they are very optimistic, bubbling with optimism, as a matter of fact, about the fact that Democratic turnout, they say, is up. And one even said that this will be an historic midterm election. Meanwhile, on the Republican side, Lou, Republicans are also saying that they have a slight, maybe a 5% advantage in turnout from their side over 2004. But talk to senior Republicans on the Hill and elsewhere, they simply are resigned, even depressed about what they're going to potentially encounter tonight. I talked to one senior Republican aide here on the Hill earlier today who said, "I feel like I did in 9th grade going in for a chemistry test I knew that I didn't study for." He said that I'm going to fail and there's nothing I can do about it. Lou?
Dana, thank you very much. Well, nonetheless, the White House tonight is putting on a show of confidence that the Republican Party will retain control of both the Senate and the House. GOP strategists predicting that a big turnout of Republican supporters would deny the Democrats victory. Suzanne Malveaux reports now from the White House. Suzanne.
Well, Lou, we saw President Bush and the First Lady earlier today in Crawford, Texas. That's where they cast their ballots. And then the president made a brief remark to all Americans, decidedly nonpartisan, saying that everybody should go out and vote and do their civic duty. But make no question about it, Bush administration officials realize the number one issue for voters is the Iraq War, that this very well could be a referendum on the president in the Iraq War, and either losing the House or the Senate would definitely weaken the president's ability to get things done in the next 2 years. Now, some White House officials, however, and insiders say there is certainly no talk about that possibility, not here in this building. They feel that any hint of doubt would affect voter turnout. They say that they cannot concede. And another White House insider I spoke to, who says it's going to be a bad day for the Republican Party, simply said that Karl Rove and company are very encouraged with what they're seeing, an increased voter turnout of Republicans in rural areas in key states. Lou?
Suzanne, thank you. Suzanne Malveaux from the White House. Apart, of course, from the outcome of this election, the biggest question tonight is whether or not your vote will actually count. Election officials all across the country have been reporting problems with e-voting machines. Kitty Pilgrim has the latest for us. Kitty?
Lou, voter activists have been monitoring all day, and Common Cause says 15% of their hotline calls were about mechanical problems with electronic voting machines. Voter Action says they are drowning in reports, and Verified Voting says the system was clearly very complex for volunteers. In Denver, lines were hours long. The electronic poll books with voter registrations were not ready. In Indiana, paper ballots had to be used in more than 100 precincts because the touch screens on electronic voting machines were not working.
222 locations that we had to send technicians to get the machine up and running.
In New Jersey, the Sequoia machines had printer or mechanical problems. Polling locations issued paper ballots and had voting machines replaced. Broward County, Florida, a 90-minute delay because of activation mess-ups.
A number of people that were sent away and told to come back, I hope that they have the perseverance and come back and get their votes cast.
These, of course, are the observable problems with the machines. Now, none of this actually shows how the votes are tallied at the end of the day, and we might see some additional problems as that process continues. Lou?
Kitty, thank you very much. Kitty Pilgrim joining me now. I'm joined by three political analysts who have credentials beyond compare. Joined by Ed Rollins, he's the Republican strategist, former White House political director, Errol Lewis, columnist for New York Daily News, and Robert Zimmerman, Democratic strategist and fundraiser. Let me turn to you first, Errol. These early exit polls suggesting that there is a relatively strong turnout and a strong reaction in some cases on issues that weren't anticipated, particularly corruption.
Well, that's right. The earlier segment that talked about where everybody said their concerns were was sort of the reverse of what we've been hearing for weeks. And I think what that means is that when people are listening to these ads that tens of millions of dollars are being invested in, when people are watching all of these news reports, they're taking their own message from it. And in many individual races, corruption was the main issue.
Ed, we've heard the White House very confident. Suzanne Malveaux reporting that the president, Laura Bush, very confident. We're hearing that Nancy Pelosi is almost giddy in anticipation of the results here. What do you make of it?
Well, I think there's been a tremendous turnout today, and I think both sides have turned out their own vote. But the critical thing is the independents turning out. The independents are turning out. We're going to lose Republicans big time because they're going to break against us 2-1. And I feel that they probably are, and I think they're the ones that are most concerned probably about the corruption.
You know, it's a very important point I had to bring up. In 2004, the Republicans ran Bush's re-election by trying to build the Republican base and focusing only on their base at the expense of the independents. Democrats have targeted independents very aggressively, and in fact, they're expanding their base by gaining more of that independent vote.
Okay. We'll be back with these gentlemen throughout the broadcast here. We appreciate it. Coming up next, we'll have more from our political panel, and Bill Snyder will also be here. He'll have the latest exit poll information for us and his analysis. We'll also have live reports from key Senate and House races all across the country. A great deal more. It's the beginning of a very exciting night. Stay with us.
Of America Votes 2006 is sponsored by Norfolk Southern. The future of transportation is the thoroughbred of transportation. And by ExxonMobil, taking on the world's toughest energy challenges. Log on to CNN.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
No matter where people are going, we're all going in the same direction. The future, something we're thinking about today. A good example? This ultra-clean diesel fuel we're producing in the U.S. It contains 97% less sulfur, and we can all benefit from that. I'm Chris Erickson, and I work for ExxonMobil.
I saw several girls raped.
Raped right in front of my eyes.
Then they burned them to death.
They killed my sons.
Then my husband. And my brother.
The government just wants us to disappear.
The rest of the world isn't doing anything.
Isn't doing anything.
Anything.
At Grant Thornton, what they do for their clients, their expertise, and their partner involvement has made them one of the largest accounting organizations in the world, with a network of member firms in 110 countries, proving that when people really love what they do, they seem to want to keep doing it.
Good evening, Grant Thornton.
Grant Thornton, a passion for the business of accounting.
Welcome back to our special election night coverage. Political scandal, voter frustration, drawing voters to the polls. Within the hour, we'll see the first results in this election, where the party controlling the Senate could change or not. Ed Henry reports from Virginia tonight, where there has been record voter turnout for the Senate race. Charges of racism and immorality being charged and countercharged in that race. Bob Franken reporting tonight from Ohio, where frustrated voters are looking for a senator who will fight for American workers. And Jonathan Freed reporting tonight from Missouri, one of the tightest Senate races in the nation. We begin with Ed Henry in Richmond, Virginia. Ed?
Lou, I'm here at the campaign headquarters of Republican Senator George Allen. As you know, he had dreams just a few months ago of running for president in 2008. Now his back is against the wall on a collision course with Democratic challenger Jim Webb. A very tight race, as you mentioned, turnout very high. The absentee ballots alone, there were 44,000 last time there was a midterm election in 2002. This time we're told 131,000 absentee ballots were requested this time around. The Allen team is hoping that high turnout is because conservatives are turning out to vote for him and to vote for a state-level ban on same-sex marriage. The Democrat Jim Webb hoping it's just the opposite, that people are turning out on Iraq, an issue that Webb has been demanding a new course for the war, and also turning against Allen, who had a lot of miscues, such as that infamous macaca moment. The polls will be closing at 7, but we may not have an early answer. This is a race that could go late into the night. One thing is certain, while we don't know what's happening in the Senate race just yet, it's clear that Senator Allen's hopes of running for president are really on hold now, clearly, Lou.
Thank you very much, Ed Henry. Ohio, a state tarred by political scandal and economy challenged on all fronts. In Cuyahoga County, polling locations, the Ohio Democratic Party has filed a lawsuit to keep those polls open late, to ensure ballot security and to make certain that ballots are accurately counted. The Ohio Democrats citing numerous problems with those e-voting machines early in the day. Bob Franken is in Columbus, Ohio, and joins us now. Bob.
There have been a series of problems over the last several elections in Cuyahoga County, which is Cleveland, but let's put this in another context. The Cleveland area is the Democratic stronghold, and so the Democratic Party would like to maximize the turnout there. It has been low, as it traditionally is during the day. The large bulk of the voters there come in after the working hours. There's a little bit less than an hour and a half. So within the hour, that lawsuit was filed by the Ohio Democratic Party in federal court in northern Ohio. The Democratic candidate, Sherrod Brown, is looking for every vote he can. He is higher in the polls. That was what was the prediction was made, so he made his vote today in an area just west of Cleveland. His Republican counterpart in this race, the incumbent Senator Mike DeWine, voted also in the Dayton area. Both have headed to their campaign headquarters now to check out the result. In a state that has experienced a tremendous intensity and interest because of the variety of scandals and corruption charges, and of course the interest in the Iraq War. But right now, the focus is once again where it should not be, in the minds of many, on the Cleveland area and the problems they're having with the voting machines. Lou?
Thank you, Bob Franken, reporting from Columbus. In Missouri, the battle there between Senate incumbent Jim Tennant and Democrat Claire McCaskill has been one of the nation's tightest races. Jonathan Freed is in St. Louis tonight and joins us now. Jonathan?
Lou, it has been one of the tightest races, and because of that, everybody has been focusing on the turnout here. The big question, would it be as big as predicted? And so far, what we're hearing from reports coming into us from around the state is that, yes, that is the case. The turnout today so far is higher than has been normal for midterm elections. Both campaigns are trying to spin it their way when we talk to them today, Lou. They're saying that their base is coming out strongly, and in fact, both candidates say that they had to wait in line at their own polling places today when it came time to vote. Again, when a race is as tight as this one, every person that you can get to the polls counts. And that stem cell debate that's also going on here is bringing even more people to the polls. So everybody hanging on, waiting to see how one side affects the other and one campaign here affects the other. Lou.
Thank you very much, Jonathan Freed from St. Louis, and we will be obviously covering the Missouri race very, very carefully, and one suspects throughout the evening here. Errol, let me turn to you and ask you, we're hearing a lot about heavy turnout from our reporters, and we're getting reports of it across the country. Who's the beneficiary of that overall on balance, or can you make that judgment?
Well, you can, but to do so, you'd have to throw in an important fact that hasn't been talked about a lot, which is that there are a lot of governor seats that are up today. There are 9 vacant seats that are being vacated by Republicans, one by Democrats. So you can sort of see that there's going to be a lot more emphasis going in the Democrat direction, where you have challengers trying to sort of snatch seats. A lot of time and effort has been focused on them. And in a place like Ohio, where there's a bitterly contested race for governor, it's going to spill over into all the other races. And to the extent that it's been a question about national parties trying to push their agenda, I think you start to see all kinds of new effects, new people coming out who maybe don't care so much about what's going on in Iraq, but care a great deal about what's going to happen in their state house.
Do you agree?
I think this is pretty much about the war. I think this campaign has been nationalized. Traditionally, there's a 30% drop-off from presidential elections, which was a record high election 2004, the highest since '68. I think this will be a record high, and I think it's been a nationalized election. And I do think a lot of it's the war, corruption, the way Congress is dealt.
That sounds, the way Ed puts it, as if the Democrats will be the beneficiary of the strategy. Rahm Emanuel has to be given a lot of credit for the strategy that he employed, right?
Well, I think it was clearly the strategy of Rahm Emanuel, Nancy Pelosi, Senator Schumer, and Reid to nationalize this election and to make a referendum on George Bush, and he certainly played into their hands.
Well, we want to turn, because obviously whatever happens tonight will define the balance of power for the remainder of President George W. Bush's presidency. Let's turn to CNN senior analyst Jeff Greenfield. Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, you heard about 3 endangered Republican Senate seats. If Republicans have hopes of retaining the Senate, I want to show you 2 states very quickly. One of them is Rhode Island, where this should have been a put away for the Democrats. It's one of the bluest states. Lincoln Chafee, the incumbent Republican, is the most independent or least loyal, depending on your politics, Republican there is. Broke with the Bush administration on tax cuts, on the war in Iraq, wrote in the name of George Bush's father in 2004. The one thing he hasn't done is leave his party. Sheldon Whitehouse was seen to be a favorite. In recent weeks, in recent days, there's been a sense that maybe voters are coming back and admiring Chafee for his independence. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out tonight. The other race where Republicans have hopes is a Democratic seat, it's an open Democratic seat in Maryland, one of the bluest of the blue states. Ben Cardin, the Democrat, a congressman, won a narrow primary against Kwesi Mfume, a former congressman, an African-American, and Cardin's being pushed very hard by Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele. The theory is if Steele can pick up 20%, 25, 30% of the black vote, they can take that seat away from Democrats and deny Democrats control of the Senate. As we have pointed out, we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Exactly. Jeff, thanks very much, Jeff Greenfield. Just ahead, we're receiving, obviously, new exit poll information. We'll be bringing you the very latest on that as we receive it, and analysis, of course. And from Walmart to Wachovia, the big spenders in this election come straight from corporate America. We'll have a special report on the best government money can buy, and much more as America votes 2006. We'll have live reports from the key House races across the country, and our election coverage will continue here on CNN throughout the night. Beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern, Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Paula Zahn, and I will be bringing you the projected winners from all across the country. Then at 12 midnight Eastern, a special edition of Larry King Live. Stay with us.
They were really good, and they lived in the house. Wanted to change the color of him, and it has legs, and I don't know what it is. And just worms and some bugs, but his head is so tiny.
Who would you give a Volvo to? Tell us at volvocars.us.
Lease a new 2007 Volvo XC90 3.2 front-wheel drive for $359 a month for 24 months.
There is a place where movers and shakers move and shake, where new discoveries are made, and where opportunity has no boundaries. What are you in the market for? The New York Stock Exchange. One market, infinite possibilities.
5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Be right back here at CNN for American Morning. Election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
Getting Exposed is brought to you by... If you've been involved in an accident, protect your rights and your health. For an attorney and a doctor near you, call 866-730-HURT, even if the accident was your fault.
We're the Puckheads.
The Puckhead!
We're hardcore and we will not miss a game. But the only way we can see our favorite team is to go city to city and catch all the action.
All the action!
We're not like those fair weather hockey fans.
Losers!
We've got some kind of fancy schmancy NHL center ice package so they can watch all the action at home.
All the action!
At home? NHL Center Ice. Order today for only $149 and save $20. Every game's a home game on digital cable.
I thought you said the van was home!
Meet the heroes of Baghdad's Combat Hospital. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
Our coverage tonight wouldn't be complete without mentioning the biggest driving force in this election, special interests and corporate America. With an estimated $2.6 billion being spent over the course of this campaign and election, this election is expected to be the most expensive midterm race in history. Lisa Sylvester has our report. Lisa?
Lou, to knock out an incumbent and win a House seat now costs a minimum of $1 million. To take over a Senate position, starting cost $7 million. And guess who's paying for these elections? Big corporate money.
Business interests provide 75% of the money that is given to candidates and parties at the federal level on average, and that's true again this cycle.
The U.S. Chamber of Commerce spent $20 million this year just on federal races, $10 million, in fact, in just the final days on calls and mailings. The Business Interest Political Action Committee spent another $3 million. And Walmart tops the list of companies that have donated the most, according to the Center for Responsive Politics. More than $1 million on the federal level and another $1 million for state races. Of course, big corporate donors are paying, but they also want to see a return on their investment. A few million now, translating to friends in high places later. And this year, the share of big business money going to Democrats has increased, but they're still running behind Republicans. Lou?
All right. And it is the story no one wants to report, it seems, across the national media. Lisa Sylvester, thank you very much. Of course, this broadcast is an exception to that. Robert Zimmerman, what in the world are we doing when we have reached a point we're spending $2.6 billion on these campaigns, corporate America funding both political parties? How can we? This is obscene.
It is obscene, and it threatens our democracy as profoundly as the e-voting systems threaten our democracy. And until we move in the direction of public financing of campaigns, we're never going to rid the corruption that corporate financing of congressional races always leads to.
Ed Rollins, do you concur or not?
I'm not for public financing, but I certainly concur. There's a couple congressional races that'll be $5 to $7 million in this cycle, which used to be a senator gubernatorial race in a big state. It's just it's out of hand. It's way too much money. You don't need that kind of money to be spent in these races, and it's overkill.
Errol?
You don't want to minimize the effect of this, but let's keep in mind the unions have been players in this game too. The Service Employees International Union, they're mostly hospital workers, janitors, and the like. They spent about $35 million, according to their emails, contacting their members, pushing people to the polls, and so forth. I think you see that play out in the Democratic plank. If the Democrats should win, one of the things they've promised is to change the rules to make it easier for unions to get into the workplace.
Well, let's ask Robert Zimmerman how they sort that out. They get the union money and they get all that corporate money. Is it going to be evenly divvied up here? I mean, how does that work?
It's not about that. It's about changing the way we finance our congressional campaigns and our presidential campaign.
He's a lonely voice. This race will be more money will be spent in this midterm election for probably 30 or 40 targeted races than the presidential race in 2004.
And nobody has run a campaign based.
2004.
Nobody's run a campaign based on getting money out of elections,
which
shows you how effective
principle of public financing in 2000. And Lou, you were a strong leader of that around that issue as well, and that was important to make people aware of it.
I mean, we have to come up with an intelligent way in which to conduct these races so that candidates at least are running on issues, on a platform, an agenda that is focused on the interest of the common good and the national interest, not on special interests or or corporate America or organized labor. We will continue in just a moment. Coming up next, explosive new exit poll information has just come in as the president and the Republican Party made a miscalculation in this election. Bill Snyder will tell us what those exit polls are suggesting. Also, live reports on some pivotal House races and reports of frustration caused by those new e-voting machines. They've been pouring in all day. How big is the problem? How well are the jurisdictions around the country managing the problems? We'll have the latest for you. And also, be sure to stay with CNN for our prime time election coverage. Wolf Blitzer, Anderson Cooper, Paula Zahn, and I reporting live from New York, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern here tonight. And there will be special election coverage on Larry King Live tonight from Los Angeles, beginning at midnight Eastern. And I'll be right back. Stay with us.
America Votes 2006 is sponsored by AARP. Don't vote until you know where the candidates stand on the issues. Visit don'tvote.com. Log on to cnn.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
I'm handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
Great. I'm going to need to go to that 4 o'clock meeting, I think. I think I should probably...
No, I'm sending it to you right now. And change my...
Okay, do you want to talk to Brian?
That'd be great. Are you going to go ahead and fax me that? And I'm about to email you the budget for next year.
You're going to find it in the...
One moment, please. Mr. Clavo! Mr. Clavo!
With over 1,500 worldwide locations, even on the road, you're never far from a FedEx specialist. Handle all your packing and shipping needs just in time for the holidays.
Some stores start with a higher regular price, then mark it down and say it's 40% off. At Men's Warehouse, we like to keep our prices low every day. Customers seem to like it too. You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Last year, Norfolk Southern and its shipping partners took hundreds of thousands of freight loads off the highway. In fact, they've invested millions to convert even more traffic in the coming years. So it's easy to see how the economy won't be the only thing that benefits. Norfolk Southern, the future of transportation.
Exit poll information is pouring in, and over the last few minutes, new information from those exit polls. Bill Snyder has the very latest for us. Bill?
Lou, the economy was supposed to be the issue that paid off for the White House. Republicans were running hard on the good economy. The stock market is booming. Gas prices are dropping. But guess what? When we asked voters, was the economy a very important issue in the way you voted? Among those interviewed, at least so far around the country, those who said economy extremely important were voting by over 20 points for the Democratic candidate for the House of Representatives. It looks like the economy turned out to be a Democratic, not a Republican issue. Terrorism. What about people who said terrorism was extremely important? Very important issue for Republicans in 2002 and 2004. How did it do this time? Well, majority of voters who cited terrorism did vote Republican, but notice how close it is. 53% voted Republican, 45% Democrats. Democrats are becoming more competitive on the terrorism issue. And finally, an issue of great concern to viewers of this program, illegal immigration. People who said that was a very important issue, how did they vote? The answer is they split. 51% Republican, 46% Democratic. A very close split on the illegal immigration issue. Neither party is particularly preferred.
Okay, on a host of issues, apparently, Bill Snyder. Thank you very much. One name is having a major impact in 2 House races tonight. In Florida's 14th district, Mark Foley's name is on the ballot. The current GOP candidate is not. And in Western New York, a senior Republican is tainted by the Foley scandal. John Zarella is in Florida on the race for Mark Foley's vacated House seat. Mary Snow is in Western New York, where fallout from the Foley scandal has been dogging Congressman Tom Reynolds' campaign. We begin with John Zarella in Jupiter, Florida. John?
Lou, we're at the Jupiter Beach Resort where Tim Foley, the Democratic candidate in the 16th Congressional District, is hoping to be here a little later to celebrate a victory. It won't be easy. It's going to be hard fought. The Republican candidate, Joe Negron, handpicked by the party to replace Mr. Foley, has made strong strides in the last weeks, catching up, closing the gap. And Tim Foley said all along that he expected that. This, after all, has been Tim Mahoney has said all along, this has been a Republican seat for a quarter of a century. He didn't expect anything less than a tight race, and that's apparently what we've got here tonight, neck and neck as the polls close here in 25 minutes. Now, when people went to the polls here in Palm Beach County, what they saw on the ballot was Mark Foley's name right there at the top. The Republicans say they believe that the electors, the voters, are smart enough to know that a vote for Foley is actually a vote for Negron. In fact, the Republicans kind of made a joke out of it, saying, punch Foley for Negron, hoping that, of course, that Republicans will figure it out and will go to the polls and vote for Joe Negron. But again, Lou, this is going to be close, very close. And again, the polls closing here in about 25 minutes. Lou?
John, thank you very much. John Zarella. He'll be with us throughout the evening here. Tonight, fallout from the Mark Foley scandal still surrounds the House Republican leadership. Congressman Tom Reynolds admitting that he had been told about Foley's inappropriate emails long before they were made public. He subsequently apologized to his constituents for not doing more, but that may not have been enough. Mary Snow now live at the Erie County Republican headquarters in Buffalo, New York. Mary?
Well, Lou, some voters we spoke with said they are not ready to be so forgiving. This is a very tight race, and some here are bracing for what could be a very long night. Here in Erie County, the biggest in this district, also home to both candidates. Voter turnout, according to the Board of Elections, is said to be moderate to heavy, and that is encouraging to both camps. However, voters we spoke with today say the Reynolds handling of the Foley matter was a big part in their decision-making. Even supporters of Reynolds who say they voted for him expressed that they were troubled by how he handled it. Reynolds, in the past 3 days, has launched an unprecedented get-out-the-vote drive in his district. This against his Democratic challenger, Jack Davis, an independent businessman who pumped over $2 million of his own money into this campaign. Just recently, he pledged not to take a salary if he is elected, saying he would take a token $1 salary each year. Now, these two candidates ran against each other 2 years ago, and Davis lost by 12 points. But tonight, both camps are hesitant to make any kind of projections. Lou?
Thank you very much, Mary Snow from Buffalo, New York. Joining us once again, our senior political analyst, Jeff Greenfield, with more for us on the battle for control of the House. Jeff?
Okay, Lou, a quick primer. This is the old House, as Rosemary Clooney once sang. 232 Republicans, 202 Democrats, one independent who votes with the Democrats. You need a shift of 15 seats. Here's what's driving the Republicans to a certain sense of pessimism. In state after state, many House Republicans are endangered. New York and Pennsylvania, where their gubernatorial candidates in pre-election polls have run far behind. As many as 8 or 9 Republicans could lose their House seats there. In Ohio, where the Republican Party has been mired in scandal, 4 or 5 House Republicans endangered. But they're also in trouble in seats in Indiana, in Kentucky, 2 in Florida, and even out west, which in presidential years the interior West has voted solidly red. You see Republican incumbents in trouble in Arizona, in Colorado, in Idaho. President Bush was campaigning in Kansas for Congressman and former 4-minute miler Jim Ryan. That seat should have been utterly safe. And across the country, at best, Republicans can point to 3 or 4 Democratic incumbents they might be able to beat. That, in a nutshell, is why so many people believe that the House is going to turn Democratic before the night is over. Lou?
Jeff, thank you very much. Jeff Greenfield. Returning to our panel here, is it your sense that we can draw some pretty strong conclusions from the fact that the president, as Jeff Greenfield said, had to campaign in places like Kansas, which you would think would be a relatively safe state given history?
I think there are 2 issues here at work. One, you're seeing a wide, diverse collection of Democrats running around the country, competitive in Idaho, Colorado, Nevada, in different regions, and they're running as mainstream Democrats. They're running and showing much greater diversity than in the past. The other point, though, is that's so critical is that when George Bush shows up in a competitive state like in Florida, the Republican candidate for governor disappears.
Right. Ed?
We thought we were election-proof because of reapportionment, and obviously this election is proving we're not. Tom Reynolds, a very fine man at the head of the Congressional Committee, was a very prominent candidate for Speaker to replace Denny Hastert, and obviously he's fighting for his life.
Harold, the idea that Tom Reynolds is in trouble, Jack Davis taking him on in Buffalo on the issues, basic economic issues, irrespective of what some of these exit polls are saying, in doing so well, the implications to you?
Oh, absolutely. Upstate New York is a disaster economically. It's been one of the main focuses of all of the other statewide races that are going on. And even though it may not show up in the polls in this nationalized climate, the reality is Western New York, Buffalo, it's been in trouble for a long, long time. There's been tens of thousands of layoffs, mostly upstate New York, this year alone.
And that race between Reynolds and Davis is one of those that has moved back and forth. The most recent polls, I believe, showing just about a 4-point advantage back again with Reynolds, but it is one of the tight ones that we're going to be watching here throughout the evening.
And Davis isn't a very good candidate. The best thing that's happened for Reynolds is Davis is not a very good candidate, and he may pull it out because of that.
Just make a quick point. I think what really hurt Reynolds was not just that he knew about the Foley scandal, but after he knew about it, he encouraged Foley to run again.
Just ahead, we'll have the first projections on election results here in just a few moments, and I'll be back with our distinguished panel of analysts, strategists, journalists, editorial board members, and folks who really know. And I'll be talking with an e-voting activist who can update us on what state leaders are saying about e-voting nationwide. And this campaign season has been convulsed by controversy and scandal, from Foley to Kerry to Haggard. We'll take a look back, just a little ways back. Stay with us.
I saw several girls raped.
Raped right in front of my eyes. Then they burned them to death.
They killed my sons.
Then my husband. And my brother.
The government just wants us to disappear.
The rest of the world isn't doing anything.
Isn't doing anything.
Anything.
"5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Be right back here at CNN for American Morning. Election night's best moments and biggest surprises. American Morning, 5 a.m.
The Beavers take on UCLA live Saturday the 11th at 3:15 on CNW 14.
Hey, Elsa.
Hey, Zach.
What are you doing?
Just doing some sciencey stuff.
What is this stuff?
It's Power Boost. Gives you burst of speed for faster downloads.
So it makes our already fast stuff
even faster. Did you just eat that?
No.
Considering a career change, have you dreamed of a career as a helicopter pilot? Silver State Helicopters is offering a free employment opportunity seminar Thursday, November 9th at 7 p.m. We'll show you how you can earn your commercial helicopter pilot's license in less than 18 months and start earning $50,000 to $100,000 annually. This professional training program allows you to become a commercial helicopter pilot with no upfront cost to you. The seminar is Thursday, November 9th at 7 p.m. Come see us at the Salem Municipal Airport. To reserve your seat, call 1-888-91-PILOT today.
John, we have the new high speed. It's way faster than DSL. Show 'em.
It's a pagoda.
Tell me you have more.
Heroes heroes of Baghdad's combat hospital. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
We have just received this word from Ohio. Our correspondent Bob Franken reporting that a federal district court judge there is right now writing an order to insist that the polls in 16 precincts in Cuyahoga County, where there have been large numbers of e-voting machine problems, that those polls remain open till at least 10 p.m. tonight. Again, 16 precincts in Cuyahoga County, that is the Cleveland area in Ohio, which has been beset by problems, but 16 precincts will be, by federal order, keeping their polls open until 10 o'clock tonight. New reports keep coming in about problems and not all over the country, but certainly in those states on the East Coast in which we've got considerable focus. With the very latest for us, I'm joined by Warren Stewart. He is of Vote Trust USA. It's a group that is fielding tonight and today a barrage of complaints. Warren, this decision in Cuyahoga County by the federal judge directly related to those e-voting troubles that we've all been fearing.
Exactly. We've been having reports all day long from states across the country where machines have failed to boot up at the beginning of the day or have stopped working for one reason or the other. It's resulted in long lines. We have reports like that from, well, of course, Ohio, Indiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, New Jersey. I could go on and on.
Right.
So we've had those sort of problems, and we anticipate more of those. We've also had problems reported of vote switching on machines where either on the screen, on a touch screen where the voter's actually voting, they vote for one candidate and it shows up for the other one, or on the review screen they're seeing a candidate that they didn't vote for. And that's happening in a lot of counties in Florida and also in Texas, and we've seen that in Kentucky as well. So those are all big concerns, but I think in some ways the worst is yet to come, because at the end of the day, when they are merging all these totals together in the central tabulators, I think we're going to have a lot of, it's going to be a long night.
A long night. But at this point, are you encouraged at all that we haven't had more problems reported in?
Oh, good heavens, no. I would say there's, there have been so many calls to the various hotlines that have been set up, and news reports as well, and we have to assume that that's just a fraction of the actual incidents that are taking place.
Warren, I was trying to look for some good news at all in those early reports on these breakdowns in e-voting machines in particular. Warren Stewart of Vote Trust USA, you'll be with us throughout the evening. We appreciate it. Now let's turn back to the panel. Warren is saying that he sees greater problems ahead. How much of an implication do you think this will likely have on this election?
Oh, it will certainly delay the final outcome, and if the outcome for the control of the House is at all close, we could be looking at this for days, hopefully not weeks. One of the things that goes on here is that there was a push to put in all of these new machines without any real sort of standards, and the testing, the recent Hacking Democracy, the documentary that pointed out all of these problems. The punchline at the end was that $20 million was going to be spent in Ohio on technology that show proved was not reliable. And here we are in Ohio wondering about the vote.
Well,
the other thing is there's going to be, if these are close elections, which I assume they are going to be, there's a tremendous number of absentee ballots that still have to be counted, and that could go on for days. And I think that anything that creates an image that people's votes may not be counted or counted fairly is going to put a darkness over this election.
Very quickly, Robert.
Let's call it what it is, a political scandal. The e-voting system, the way absentee ballots are being mishandled, being rejected for lack of postage, and for that matter, the way voter ID cards are being used, and in fact, in some cases, being misused to block people from voting.
Okay, Robert Zimmerman, thank you very much. This midterm campaign has been like no other. Mudslinging, celebrity pitches, personal attacks, moral misbehavior, scandal, and a lot more. Christine Romans reports on all of that.
It began with what is now known as the macaca moment and quickly devolved.
Let's give a welcome to Macaca here.
Welcome to America.
From a racially insensitive remark to lurid instant messages, Congressman Mark Foley coming on to teenage boys, coming out of the closet, and rushing right into rehab.
He has never had sexual contact with a minor. Between the ages of 13 and 15, he was molested by a clergyman. Mark Foley wants you to know that he is a gay man.
Next comes a celebrity slugfest over stem cell research.
What you do in Missouri matters to millions of Americans. Americans like me.
This is really shameless of Michael J. Fox. Either he didn't take his medication or he's acting, one of the two.
And then along comes what Senator John Kerry describes as a joke gone bad, telling students, if you don't study,
you get stuck in Iraq.
an apparent indictment of the intelligence of U.S. troops. Democrats cringed, and the White House demanded an apology.
This is an absolute insult.
Kerry called him a stuffed suit, and Rush Limbaugh doughy.
I apologize to no one for my criticism of the president and of his broken policy.
A day later, Kerry did apologize. For a moment there, watching these two going at it almost felt like 2004. But then came Pastor Ted, an evangelical advisor to the White House, clumsily answering allegations he frequented a gay prostitute and used drugs.
I called him to buy some meth, but I threw it away. I went there for a massage.
Finally admitting in a letter to his congregation,
the fact is, I am guilty of sexual immorality. I am a deceiver and a liar.
An American evangelical leader disgraced.
Christine Romans with the sorry side of this election and campaign. I want to turn for final thoughts to our panel here tonight. Errol Lewis.
The outcome of this will be the first step towards the 2008 presidential elections. That's where all of the energy is going to go the day after this is finished, possibly as early as tomorrow morning.
I hope it's clean. I hope whoever wins it, and there's not any long-term disputes here.
This election ultimately is about a very dramatic change in the direction of the country, and it also reflects a dramatic change of in the Democratic Party because of the number of states Democrats are competitive in.
Now, the idea that this is the beginning of 2008 is not exactly living in the moment, Errol. You want to?
Well, here in New York, where we have a certain senator whose last name you may recognize, Clinton, who has spent more than anybody else running for our office today. There's some thought that this is step one towards 2008.
She's the closest thing to an incumbent. There is no incumbent or no vice president. She's the closest thing to it.
And is she your party's first choice?
We have a number of very strong candidates for the Democratic nomination. If she chooses to run, she'll be among them.
A little sorting out, no matter what happens tonight.
There's a couple other New Yorkers that may have an interest in it too. I don't consider the governor one of them, but
Wednesday morning it begins.
A lot of sorting out for the Republican Party and the Democratic Party on that one. We will be focusing on this election throughout the night here. CNN's America Votes 2006 election coverage continues here in just a moment. Stay with us.
Coverage of America Votes 2006 is sponsored by Lunesta. Ask your doctor if Lunesta can bring peaceful sleep to your nights. And by AARP. Don't vote until you know where the candidates stand on the issues. Visit don'tvote.com. Log on to CNN.com/election for analysis of this year's midterm election races.
Have you stopped sleeping as well as you used to? Do you wake up before you want to and then just toss and turn? Maybe it's time to ask your doctor if Lunesta's right for you. For a limited time, you're invited to take the Lunesta 7-Night Challenge. Ask your doctor how to get 7 nights of Lunesta absolutely free and see if it's the sleep aid you've been looking for. Non-narcotic Lunesta helps you fall asleep quickly, so take it right before bed. Be sure you have at least 8 hours to devote to sleep before becoming active, because Lunesta will help you sleep all through the night. Until you know how you react to Lunesta, you should not drive or operate machinery. Do not take Lunesta with alcohol. Most sleep medicines carry some risk of dependency. Side effects may include unpleasant taste, headache, drowsiness, and dizziness. Hurry! The Lunesta 7-Night Challenge is only available for a limited time. Get your coupon at lunesta.com and ask your doctor today.
I'm
handsome, I'm funny, I tell a good joke. I'll hug you, I'll kiss you, I don't even smoke. My wife is impeccable, my past quite respectable. Vote for me assuredly, but don't ask about Social Security. Come have some pie with me.
Don't fall for the song and dance. Vote the issues, not just the personality. See where the candidates stand at don'tvote.com.
Welcome to our coverage, America Votes 2006. We're going to be going to we'll have the results here in about 7 minutes and 47 seconds according to our countdown clock. We're going to have complete reports of every race in the country, analysis by the very best folks in the business, and we're going to start out with one of the very best folks, Wolf Blitzer.
Lou, thank you very much. And in just a few minutes, the polls will close in 4 states, and we'll begin to find out what you have decided today. Do Democrats win back part or all of the United States Congress? Whose political stars will rise? Whose will fall? How much did Iraq or the war on terror or the economy or scandal drive this election? These are some of the questions we'll be answering tonight. Let's bring it over to our senior analyst, Jeff Greenfield. There are 4 specific questions that you're looking at the start of what could be a long night.
You betcha. And this is what they are. The first question, a flood or a trickle? Indiana and Kentucky have 5 endangered House Republicans. There are 2 Democrats in Georgia who've been targeted by the Republicans for possible defeat. If the Republicans can hold many or most of those seats, maybe this is not a flood. If they lose most or all of them, they're in real trouble. The second question, an Ohio disaster. Ohio closes at 7:30. It's a state where the Republicans have been mired in scandal. The Republican candidate for governor is running far behind. There are 4, perhaps even 5 House Republican seats that could be lost. And between that, Indiana and Kentucky, the Democrats would be 2/3 of where they need to get control of the House. Here's the third question. As Virginia goes, so goes the Senate. Virginia has that race between George Allen, once considered a shoo-in, and Jim Webb. If the Democrats hope to retake the Senate with the 6 seats net they need, they have to take Virginia. And the fourth question, we'll have to wait till the end of the night to answer, is what about presidential coattails? Bush campaigned in Georgia for the 2 Republicans challenging the Democrats. He went into other districts in this region. If, in fact, the president has political clout, we should see this in those states. And one more quick mention about Ohio. This is where the vaunted turnout machine of the Republicans delivered Ohio and therefore a second term to George Bush. It's an Ohio turnout versus a mood in Ohio that seems to run against Republicans. Wolf?
An early indicator as we continue to watch what's going on. This is only just beginning. I want to bring in Anderson Cooper. He's got the best political team on television with him. Anderson?
Wolf, we want to talk to some of our reporters, both here in the studio and also in the field, to find out exactly what their thoughts are, what they're going to be looking at over the next 15, 20 minutes or so as some of these polls are closing. John King?
The earliest thing for me are the Republican incumbents in Kentucky and Indiana. If Republicans are losing in places like that, they're in for a very long night. They should be able to hold those seats in a good year. We know this is not a good year. 5 or 6 of them in Kentucky and Indiana. That's a good early sign of how the night's going to go for the Republicans.
Candy Crowley?
I think I'll look at something, that takes us forward, and that is, how did Democrats do in the rural vote? How do they do in some of these southern states? The South has been blocked off to Democrats in the presidential campaigns for a very long time. Are they going to make some inroads into those very red states? And are those inroads, do they show signs of any kind of permanence?
Also joining us tonight from Newsweek magazine, Marcus Mabry, good to have you here. What are you going to be looking for?
Good to be here, Anderson. Thanks. I'm going to be looking to see what happens with the women's vote. I'm going to be looking to see how many women turn out, how many women support Republicans. You may have noticed some of the places, some polls in the last few days of this campaign has showed a tightening, with the Republicans still behind the Democrats as far as who voters are likely to vote for tonight. But what we've seen is some other polls have a larger gap. The ones that showed the Republicans catching up to the Democrats, those polls inevitably have to do with women turning toward Republican candidates at the last moment. The question is, we'll see from who women vote for tonight, whether or not Democrats have closed the deal or not.
We are about 4 minutes away from polls closing. I want to talk to some of the best political minds in the country who we assembled here tonight.
Where are they? If you find them, let me know.
James Carville, what are you looking for?
You know, it comes in fast and furious, and I mean, I'm just going to be watching CNN, I'll be watching the monitor on the bottom, and I'll be calling campaign managers and political professionals around the country to see what they're seeing. I'm going to be talking to people at the Republican National Committee, people at the Democratic DCC, to see if I can do some actual reporting as to what they're seeing on the ground.
Paul Begala, what races are you watching very closely?
Well, I have a stake in Pennsylvania. I have one campaign I'm working for as a consultant, and that's my friend Bob Casey. He's running against Rick Santorum in a marquee Senate race. But I'm also intrigued as the Bush coattail effect, something Jeff Greenfield was talking about before. Does he have coattails or is he like an anchor? You know, the most stunning thing of the last week of the election was the Republican candidate for Florida, Charlie Crist, ducked President Bush, even though Bush went to do the event for Charlie. But he cut and run from the president. That tells you that, you know, Republicans are pretty worried about Bush.
Paul Begala working in a cut and run mention. J.C. Watts, what are you watching?
Maryland, Michael Steele, I think Republicans have a real chance there. And then, as you all have said, I think Indiana, Kentucky, the polls close early there. We'll get some kind of feel for how this thing might trend over the next 2 or 3 hours.
About 3 minutes, the polls closing. Bill Bennett?
Right, Paul, an advocate to the very end. The polls are still open, and Paul is...
I like that you guys coordinated with your red ties,
You bet. We know. Indiana, Kentucky early on. It's a trickle, then there's a flood, but those two states will tell us a lot what happens in those congressional races. I'm watching Maryland. That's my home state. Rooting hard for Michael Steele.
A fascinating race. We're going to have a lot of races to talk to. Let's go back to Wolf. Let's go to Lou Dobbs right now. Lou?
Not all the campaigning going on outside this studio. We're going to be turning to our correspondents covering the very tight race. First of all, and from Columbus, we're going to go to Bob Franken. Ed Henry will be reporting from Richmond, Virginia. Dana Bash on Capitol Hill to give us some sense. Let's turn first to Bob Franken at Mike DeWine's headquarters, the incumbent Republican senator in that tight race with Sherrod Brown.
A slight complication in Ohio. A federal judge is about to rule that 16 voting places in Cuyahoga County, that's Cleveland, stay open an extra hour and a half, which will make that 9 o'clock Eastern. Both sides are reporting heavy turnout, which is what the prediction had been in a state that has very high feelings, in a state that, unless there's an upset, is going to be bad news for Republicans. Lou?
Thank you very much, Bob Franken. Let's turn to Ed Henry, who's at Senator George Allen's headquarters in that race with James Webb.
That's right, Lou. I'm in Richmond, and we're hearing from both camps. Turnout was very, very high, almost in presidential election year levels, not what they normally see in midterm elections. What the Republican incumbent George Allen is hoping is that is mostly on the gay marriage issue that's on the state ballot here, Lou.
And turning to you quickly, Dana Bash at Democratic headquarters in Washington, D.C.
Well, let me tell you, Lou, that really all I have to do is show you where I am to show you the difference between the feeling and the atmospherics in Democratic world versus Republican world. This is a place where Democrats think they're going to have a party here at a hotel just near the Capitol on Capitol Hill. Republicans are having nothing like this. They are sort of spread out in their home districts with some friends watching returns privately. Democrats are going to be very public here because they think they're going to have a celebration later.
Thank you, Dana Bash. Wolf, back to you.
Lou, thanks very much. We're going to be watching very closely in the next few seconds